Hi, everybody, and welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 43. I am your host, and with me, as always, my teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Hold on, I'm just going to touch my Walter.
Touching
Hi.
the Walter.
Yes.
The figure in the box beside you, to
Yes.
clarify.
Yes.
Well, we're back.
Yep.
It's a beautiful day outside, but we've decided to head down to the basement for a couple hours
In the
instead of...
basement. Maybe sometime we'll try, recording it. Because we have a table in the back area, so I don't know.
Yeah,
we could
we do.
try something.
an outdoor podcast.
Just, what do you
Poolside.
call it? Like, the sound that just sounds are outside, ambience or
Yes,
whatever?
nice, yes.
Yeah.
But
Just-
these
I'm worried
microphones
about-
might block it
yeah.
out.
So, no, we could try something at some
Yes,
point.
but I'm not quite a good enough audio technician to guarantee that it will sound good if
Yeah.
we do it outside. But
No, maybe we would, test run a bonus episode or something.
so we've hit a couple of gorgeous days of weather
Maybe
finally,
we'll review SummerSlam.
like seasonally normal weather, which we haven't had. So we actually
Yeah.
got in the pool the last couple nights. Well, you got in 2 nights ago when it was just 70 degrees, so that was
Yeah.
refreshing. Last night was a bit warmer, to like 77, I think, when we were in
I'm
it.
hoping
So
we get 80 something today, because that would
Well,
be
yeah.
normal.
definitely swimmable. So that was something nice to do because our stay-at-home order has
Till
been
June.
extended to June 2nd. So
Woo!
they added another 2 weeks or whatever. So we're still basically don't go anywhere. Nothing's open unless it's essential sort of thing. So Booster Juice was still open. So
I've
we did
got
our walk.
banana Cheetos again. All
You
as
got
well.
your banana Cheetos from the grocery store.
Yep. Back to Funky Monkey for Booster Juice.
Yep. So
I've been betting on some horse races in GTA,
Yeah.
and I think it was yesterday. I bet on because when I first started, there was this horse named Thunderskunk, and
Which
I
you
just
loved.
think that's the best name ever.
uh-huh.
So I've made a vow to always bet on Thunderskunk, and Thunderskunk actually won yesterday.
Yep.
He always has 20 to 1 odds or something. I bet 5K on him, and I won 120 something.
So there's your advice to everyone playing GTA, whatever number it is. 5, 10, 17?
I don't know
You don't even know?
what the number changes. The horse? you
No,
mean?
the GTA. It's GTA what?
GTA 5.
There you go. That's what I
Yeah.
meant. There's your tip. Bet on Thunderskunk.
And today I was
Hot
betting
tip.
on more horses, and I started with 200K today and ended with 200K today.
It broke even.
Yeah.
At least you didn't lose, I guess.
Yesterday I did really good, because yesterday I started with 35K and got to 200K.
Yep.
So I'm trying to keep it at least 200K, 'cause that's a nice number. And then if I want to trade it in for cash, I make some good money
Nice.
if I need it.
Very exciting.
I was at 2 something mil, and now I'm at 1.8 because money things. I bought a sniper rifle.
That's so proud of you.
Yeah, because my maybe favorite guy from the Bad Batch,
Yes.
the new Star Wars show,
Which we're enjoying so far.
Crosshairs, sick.
Yep. So that's been something else to do in our stay-at-home order. Watch some new Star Wars programming, which is nice. I also had a bit of time on Monday, so I did put out an ROH episode 503 review. So if you found this podcast and you're curious about that, it was a pretty decent show. I don't think I liked it quite as much as the show before, but I did tell you that promo from Brian Johnson was amazing. I meant to get you to watch it. So I would go out of my way to see that. Anything else we should cover? Our contact information, I see a note flashing at me. fnswrestling@gmail.com, fns_wrestling_podcast on Instagram, or leave us a comment in YouTube if that's
Yep.
where you're listening. We'll always get back to you. Would love to hear any sort of feedback from anyone.
Yep.
Anything else you wish to banter about? I would ask how school was, but you're going to say,
Eh,
it happened.
it was fine.
Another week of online schooling done,
Yeah.
right? So your brother has now built a countdown of how many days until freedom, I think we've called it, stuck up there. I think we're at 31 days of school left, school
Sure.
days.
Yeah.
I think so. So we
Think
can
so.
make it, hopefully.
Yeah.
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 All right, well, do you want to talk about some wrestling on this wrestling podcast?
No, I'm good,
No,
actually.
so we'll just skip it all this week. Nothing
Yeah.
was worth talking about.
No, there's nothing really.
Well, we're going to. I'm going to force you. And our first topic, as always, is going to be some news and rumors. All right, starting out with the ratings from what used to be the Wednesday Night War, but isn't anymore. It's Wednesday's AEW Dynamite ratings took a little bit of a hit following last week, but again, they heavily promoted Blood and Guts, right? So it was down a bit, but they still did 936,000 viewers on TNT this week, so down 14% from last week. They got a 0.31 in the 18 to 49 demographic, down 26 from percent from last week, where they won the they were the highest rated show on cable in that demographic, right? So down from that, obviously, because that was their peak. NXT in comparison had 697,000 viewers, which was down 8.4% from the previous week, with a 0.17 rating. In that same demographic, down 5.6% from last week. So both shows down. I don't know, just offhand, that number from NXT under 700,000 doesn't seem great to me, if just by going by what I remember seeing each week when I do this. And AEW is fine as long as I think they hover around 1 million. They're going to be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, they do pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't look at Impact this week because who really cares? It'll be a once in a while check-in just for fun. So what do you have for us?
Speaking of AEW,
Yep.
Ricky Starks is out of action with a fractured neck from that German suplex from Hangman.
Right.
Which we thought looked good, but he carried on like really well, so I'm actually surprised.
Wrestlers are known for doing that, man. You can say what you want about this being fake. They power through with some serious injuries on a regular basis. So hopefully a quick recovery and nothing. You hear broken neck, and I mean, back when I was a kid, that meant, I was telling you guys, like someone said they broke their neck, that meant they were paralyzed. But now there's all kinds of different, like multiple wrestlers have done
Edge,
it and been
Brian,
eventually back in the ring, right? So
Kurt Angle.
It seems like in 2021 to say someone broke their neck, I mean, it's still awful, but I remember being a kid and that meant you were done.
It's not the worst thing.
Right. So hopefully a quick recovery for him because he is an in-ring talent and good on the mic for sure. Ring of Honor, I had announced the return of the Survival of the Fittest tournament starting in June. So that's cool, something for me to watch. I don't know if you want to join in or not, but it consists of qualifying matches where the winner will advance to a multi-man elimination match. The winner of the elimination match then gets a future shot at the ROH World Championship that is currently held by Roosh. And it started, I did not know, in 2004. Of course, everything started with Bryan Danielson winning it in that time period, right? Pretty normal. And most recently, it took place in 2018 with the since disgraced, I would say, Marty Scurll winning that one. So I watch ROH already and love a good tournament, so I'll probably check it out.
I have no segue for that.
That's fine. It's all
right. Chris Jericho is possibly out, or no, he is out, but possibly for 4 to 6 weeks with the elbow injury.
He did have it in a pretty major elbow brace on Dynamite this week, right?
Which I thought was just for show, but
I actually didn't think it was because it looks very serious and uncomfortable, and usually, I don't know, I guess it's possible with him because he would put that much attention to detail into it, but it looks like it was legit, so hopefully he recovers as well and is back in time for Stadium Stampede, right? I guess there's a risk he might not be.
Oh, yeah, well, I guess we'll mention that now. Stadium Stampede, yes.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I forgot that's coming up. So we talked about this briefly. A Karrion Kross and Scarlett promo aimed at the way aired on Raw on Monday ahead of Kross's match with Austin Theory. I only include this because it's just giving me hope and hopefully hope to those of us who would like to see.
I am skeptical though because I think this may be just an NXT ad, but I guess.
But we were just hoping.
I am hopeful, yes.
That this is like the trial run, and then so that he's familiar when they call him up in a month or something. Because
how about 2 weeks
when
he loses the title to Balor?
Well, they have precedent of people just vacating the title and leaving, right? So
the Viking Raiders did that,
right? So
Asuka did that.
That's what I was thinking. I'd forgot Viking Raiders, but yes, Asuka. I think.
Well, and he's facing, since you just did Stadium Stampede, I'll say he's facing Balor in a couple weeks or whatever. So
yep. You could lose there. That'd be a shame.
Yeah, I would very much like that because I like Balor. Don't like him.
I agree. What else do you have for us?
Zelina Vega was reportedly spotted at the Performance Center.
Yeah, interesting.
I think Thursday
right?
It was.
Because it didn't seem like they had the most amicable separation between herself and the companies, but they can't deny that she's immensely talented, right? So they tend to, if you're talented enough, they can forgive you and.
Yeah, but then again, they're wasting people like Angel Garza and Aleister Black. And...
Sure. That would be my hope that, remember, I think we talked about this together too, that would mean Aleister Black can come back to NXT and pair up with his wife.
Oh, right, NXT. I would like that better.
Because that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want that on main. I won't see it if it's on main roster, so I would like it in NXT.
Well, and it wouldn't be as good.
This one I came across early this morning, and I was going to put it under rumors specifically, but we have like Wade Keller and Jason Powell both confirming these things, and they're generally pretty reputable, I think. So it's rumors that there is serious heat between some of the executive vice presidents in AEW.
Which is Omega, Bucks, and Cody.
Right, including some of them no longer being on speaking terms, so that's pretty serious.
Which I think is kind of odd, because that, like...
They all have humongous egos. At some point, these things are kind of inevitable.
I don't think it's Omega and the Bucks though, because I think one, they team together, and two, I think they were on BTE together. So I think not just because we don't like him. I actually do kind of think it's someone towards Cody. And based on what we know about Cody, with the reality show, with all his crap, I think it might be towards Cody.
That's what I have. Despite not knowing anything, I'd like to think it's everybody
versus
versus
at the
Cody.
very least, it's Kenny and Cody. Yeah. I think at the very least.
But issues, and I mean, they all have to have an ego to be as successful as they are in this industry. So at some point, I guess it's kind of inevitable. Hopefully they can work through it and it doesn't hurt the company in any way or the product on TV, because it's the best thing on TV wrestling-wise consistently. So I'd like it to stay that way.
As long as Omega and the Bucks are still around, I don't really care about Cody. He can go sit in a hole.
What else do you have?
New champions were crowned on SmackDown, and you may think, oh, that's interesting. No, it's not. Tamina and Natalya finally won the tag titles from Jackson Baszler, and do not fret, everybody. Nia Jax did indeed take the pin, and I am praying that this is Shayna going on her own now,
right?
And
that's what I'm hoping
doing
too.
Shayna Baszler things.
That's what I was going to tell you as optimistic. Like maybe this means it's time for Baszler to.
It better be. And I think Belair should keep her title because I think she deserves it, and Baszler is actually technically a Raw superstar, so
Baszler back to NXT.
Rhea Ripley, you're screwed.
Baszler back to NXT to be managed by Zelina Vega.
What?
Just an odd combination they would be.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting,
I don't think Shayna
actually.
Baszler needs a manager, though.
She just is like, I'm just here to kill people, and she's here to talk and handle my business. I think it would actually be like a Heyman...
I think Shayna Baszler's a good promo, though.
It could be a Heyman Brock's type situation. She could still do a promo.
Heyman Roman.
I kind of like this idea. Anyways, anything else for news?
Apollo Crews set to defend the Intercontinental title on SmackDown next week in a Fatal 4-Way against Big E, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. Basically, the only other people challenging for the title ever. Right. And begs the question, why not put this on Backlash? Because neither of the mid-card titles, I don't think,
I'm sorry, why not put
it
on what?
WrestleMania Backlash.
How dare you, sir?
Okay, sorry. Why not put it on that show, then?
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know. I don't even know what's on the show, to be honest, but I assume we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I don't think the mid-card titles are on the show, which is kind of stupid. But... And Sheamus, he's doing great things when he's feuding with Mansoor and Humberto Carrillo. That's dumb.
I do like Apollo right now.
I think this would also be a pretty fun match. So again, why not put this on pay-per-view? I mean, sure, it'd be really last minute, but that's not exactly... that's par for the course, right?
Yeah, it's not like they put months into this kind of planning. So, yeah, it's possible. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
In WWE, there's rumors of them possibly signing Bea Priestley.
Yeah, I did see that. She was on AEW for a cup of coffee, as they say.
She was on AEW, I think, around the time before they really had Dynamite. When they were, there was, Strong Hearts and, all those people. I think she was on Dynamite a couple times in the earlier stages.
Our close personal friends, the Strong Hearts?
Oh, yes.
We met them once.
Yep.
They were cool.
OWE.
Yeah, you bought a hat from them, actually.
I need a new one.
Who was the guy? The other guy with them, who I can never remember his name, who was really good when he was in AEW. We met him, too. He was cool. Oh, my goodness. He's a veteran guy. Anyways, we'll come back to it.
Chima?
Sorry? Chima, yeah.
Yeah.
He was there.
Oh, and there's the Psycho Mike guy.
Yes, he was good.
Walter. Well, no, that was a different show. That was the show after Walter was there.
No, Psycho Mike was
Yeah, and there's that the guy in the main event who was facing Speedball.
Yes, Speedball Mike Bailey.
Yeah.
Who there's rumors of him going to AEW at some point.
OWE. And I think it was Strong Hearts, and they were facing, I think, Daniels and someone.
Yeah, Daniels was there. And Sammy Guevara was there, too.
Yeah, it was Daniels, and who was he teaming with? Somebody.
Anyways, we're off topic.
He was
Any more news?
With someone. I think it was him and Chima versus the other two guys. I think. I don't know.
Could be.
No, I'm good.
All done? All right, well, that will bring us into our first in-depth review, which is taking a look at this week's NXT. And that's me, so let's talk about it. The show starts with highlights from last week's Street Fight main event that you really loved and I liked.
I didn't
you liked it more than I, but I liked it too. A recap of the Escobar-Kushida feud leading to their 2 out of 3 falls match that will main event tonight, and a summary of the Gonzalez-Martinez situation heading into their match. Cross also tells Austin Theory that his time is up and they'll have a match tonight as well. And in fact, that is the opener as things get started. We get Austin Theory versus Carey and Cross.
Yeah, and Cross is still wearing that like skirt or like loincloth thingy
leather,
with his
yeah.
trunks, and he looks like an idiot.
And it's interesting because when they first started, I thought their entrance was amazing. And now I find Scarlett's role to be kind of annoying. I like as soon as he pops up and the music picks up when he's in the ring there. I think that part's really cool from there to the end. But now I find her, I told you, it feels like she's in a high school theater production. And because she's like better than some of the bad people in it, everyone tells her she's great. And so she's really, really like buying into it. I find it a bit much now. But anyways, Gonzalez, hypes Theory up at ringside following Cross's entrance. What?
Gonzalez?
Why do I have Gonzalez?
Gargano.
Gargano. Sorry, yeah. I was like, what? Sorry, Gargano. That makes more sense. He's trying to hype up Theory because Theory seems a little bit reluctant, right, to get into this match against this monster.
We use the term monster very loosely here.
Yes, I was in air quotes, I guess. But he starts out fast, and Cross basically gets to no-sell a drop kick and take control of the match. Nice BO by Cross, I will give him credit on that. A clothesline that no-sold by Cross before hitting one of his own that obviously takes Theory down right away. Forearm to the midsection, a boot to the kneeling Theory. Cross stomps on Theory's hand as he stares down Johnny Gargano. We get a Saito, which always looks nice by Cross, and an eye gouge by Theory while Gargano's distracting the referee briefly. Cross can't see, he's really selling that. He's run into the barricade before Theory hits a DDT on the floor. We get a kick and mounted strikes back in the ring by Theory. Roll into the ring and a drop kick by Theory for a 1 count. Follow a slam by Theory. Cross then pops up, hits 2 Saitos, a forearm to the back of the neck, and a flurry more to Theory's sort of back to the back of his head as he's face down on the mat. He then transitions into the cross jacket, and the referee stops the match. Cross stares at Gargano in Theory as he holds the belt over his shoulder, and he can sense someone standing behind him, and he turns, and it's Finn Balor.
Role reversal, ayo.
Balor says he doesn't wait in lines, and he wants a rematch, and Cross says if he wants it too, and Balor sort of backs away as Cross does his wrist-tapping gesture. What did you think, my son?
This was fine, I guess, but I was pretty bored, and I'm honestly wondering if it was a coincidence I yawned like 3 times during this match. I don't think it was just that I was bored or like that I was tired. I think I was also pretty bored.
It definitely wasn't a hot
Theory's
opener.
not bad, but Cross isn't good, and he's pretty boring, so Theory wasn't getting a good match here. It's almost getting to the point of go away heat for me in terms of Cross.
I could get that.
His promos and matches continue to bore me. It's clear he doesn't belong in NXT. He doesn't really follow through anymore when he hits the forearm, because like you can still hear the snap he's doing or whatever, but like he kind of stops after he hits it, so it doesn't look that impactful anymore. Because I remember the first time he hit it on Priest,
it looked awesome.
He really like
went. We're like, wow, that's so simple, but if it looked like it really
he really went through on it. He's just like kind of holding back.
Yes,
and that's kind of like a lot of his offense now. Anyways, I thought this was kind of boring. And no thanks.
Yeah, I think I've said it on here before. I know I've said it to you. He's like the anti-Pac for me.
Yeah.
He looks like he should just be a killer, but his stuff looks kind of soft, whereas Pac is this kind of short guy. I mean, he's jacked, but all of his stuff looks super crisp and painful. I guess this was a decent match. Again, Cross, just like you, is not my cup of tea. And one of my problems is to be kind of successful, he has to be booked like this monster that gets to no-sell things and gets to kick out
Which
at one.
Which you just can't always do.
And gets to have mega quick power-ups after taking a barrage of offense. And then he gets to destroy people. And that's just not helping anybody else look good. It gets kind of formulaic and tired. Theory got some offense in the middle of this match, but nothing was exciting here.
Yep.
My favorite part was Balor showing up at the part where Cross sort of realizes there's someone behind him. I thought that part was well done, and I like that Balor
did the same thing.
And Balor's not afraid of Cross, because everybody suddenly is afraid of Cross, right? Because he's this big monster, so I'm glad Balor's not, and I just hope Balor wins the belt back. Because I think I've gone from being excited about this championship picture, which I was when Balor had it with all of Dunn and
Cole and O'Reilly. Yeah.
And now I'm kind of bored by the championship. So that can't be what NXT wants. And we can't be the only people that feel that way, I don't think. Anyways, we see Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai walking through the parking lot with, guess what? Their
luggage.
Luggage. You got to have your luggage. Leon Ruff approaches Regal backstage from earlier. He wants a match, and Regal won't give him one after the beating he took last week, just in case Ruff hasn't recovered. Ruff gets mad, and Regal makes him leave.
I wrote the title for this. I wrote, Leon Ruff shows his quote-unquote passion.
Yes, I guess it just means Ruff sticking around, and I don't really care that much. It was my only comment.
No, I didn't care. No, thanks.
Then we roll into Breezango versus MSK. So Tyler Breeze and Wes Lee start out showcasing quickness, counters, and attempts. Basically, it leads to them trying to super kick each other at the same time to no advantage. We then get Carter and Fandango tag in, and they sort of do a similar thing where it's a very even exchange and nobody can really get an advantage on the other. Then we get, remember this spot?
The ref.
Some comedic rope running by Breezango, leading to them colliding.
Right, which was so Carter kind of joined in on the drop down leapfrog stuff, which in like this, it kind of made sense because like he's trying to confuse them to get the upper hand, right? Like that makes sense.
And
right?
then the ref gets involved, does a leapfrog somehow, and leading to a Carter dropkick.
Right. So the ref that's the part where I got confused.
He did a drop down and a leapfrog, right? I think the ref.
That's where I got confused because what was the point of that?
So it was clearly a comedic little thing, and it doesn't really bother me as long as we can all agree that Breezango's back to being like not so serious and on the cusp of comedy, because they've been trying to tell us they're not for a long time now, and it doesn't look like it to me with the costumes and then stuff like this, right? So embrace it, lean into it. It's fine. They were awesome when they were the fashion police, but don't have them do this and then tell me that they're serious and intense and stuff. Anyways, we get lots of standing around, I noted, as we head into a commercial break. Coming back, Fandango avoids an acrobatic assault from Wes Lee and arm drags him into the
acrobatic assault. Nice.
Before hitting a Falcon Arrow. We get a tag to Carter and double team kicks and a moonsault shove to Breeze before Fandango breaks things up. All four exchange strikes and Breeze super kicks both members of MSK. Fandango goes up top, but Carter hits him with a running knee. We get a Carter moonsault to the outside onto both Breezango members. Assisted drop kick by Carter and Lee. I don't even know what I mean by that. Oh, he shoves him. Remember, he pushes him as he drop kicks. We get an unprettier attempt countered into the end transmission, ? For the win.
Right. I don't know if that's like...
I feel like it is.
I feel like it is, which I don't know. It's not great.
It's not great. I've heard worse, but it doesn't even matter because I'll complain about it, and then in like 3 months, I won't even think about it. Like, you just go numb to it, right? Or you get used to it or whatever.
Unless it's like really stupid.
So they do shake hands after the match, but it looked to me like Fandango was frustrated as he and Breeze walked out. So I don't know if this was just him just doing it character-wise, or if he's supposed to be teasing some sort of issue between them, but I did pick up on something, so just something to track going forward. What did you think of the match?
I thought this was a fine TV match, and the part with the ref was kind of confusing. There was no real build or anything going into this, and no stakes. That hurt this a bit, but overall it was fine. Like, nothing amazing or like new, but not necessarily bad. Just, it was fine.
I think, it was a fun little TV match, but again, can we all agree that Breezango are back to being basically comedy, right? They're not super serious and all business anymore. MSK are really cool, and Breezango are a fine, like, mid-card veteran tag team that I don't think need to be really in the title run, but they can be sort of in the mix in that tier below. I think they put on good matches consistently, right? It's just some of their character stuff I don't understand. Gargano, because we need as many way segments as we can these days, finds Regal and complains about his match with Reed. Regal says that the marketing department made him a cool headband, which he is wearing, and he will still be wrestling Reed. Johnny thinks about grabbing the brass knuckles that Regal always has sort of displayed on his desk, right? But Regal sort of, if he says something or sort of just the look.
He just doesn't.
Right, and so then he grabs Regal's pencil instead and breaks it in half.
He uses his leg for, which I don't understand.
That's funny, because it's Gargano. I didn't mind.
Snap a pencil without using
I know,
my leg.
but that's why it's funny, because he's a
guess.
muscly, fit dude, and he still did it. So, I don't know, an ultra brief segment where Johnny complains and doesn't get his way. What innovative stuff. We get this 3 or 4 times
just
a
gonna
week.
do a pun right like that, huh?
I did, right? So it's Johnny being upset with Regal and complaining, which is what he does, and I don't know. This is the way.
It was fun.
This is the way every week, so you gotta love it, I guess. I don't know.
You gotta love it, or just be
I
mad
wish I
at it.
did because I don't know. I get enough of it. I wish it was like, yes, another way segment, but I'm just okay. There it is. Lorcan and Dunn walk and talk backstage as we head to commercial. We don't get any of the audio. Martinez, after the commercial, she's doing push-ups and shadow boxing while commentary tell us about NXT In Your House on June 13th,
Takeover.
hosted by
The In Your House guy.
Todd Pettengill. That's right, he's back. And then as the commentary team are telling us this, Everrise are behind them in the crowd, like behind the plexiglass, holding a sign for their internet. I think it's a YouTube show while drinking coffee. So that was just a funny little cameo by them. Pete Dunne is in the ring. He says that Cross is ducking him and he doesn't really blame him. He said he's the worst matchup for Cross and also the baddest man in NXT. He challenges anyone to step up. And of course, good old Leon Ruff attacks him from behind.
Right, which is like, oh, Leon Ruff is definitely close to the baddest person in NXT.
So what's Regal's title?
General manager.
So the general manager tells you can't have a match because he's worried about your health, and then you just show up and make your own match. So what the heck is Regal even doing there?
Right.
Because like 10 minutes later, he has.
And also, I
he
didn't
has a
like,
match.
even though that this was a blindside attack, Ruff got the better of this exchange. He should get killed even if he tries to attack someone from behind.
Well, and he should be suspended or something after this, I would think. Anyways,
Yeah.
Ruff attacks him from behind and we have a match. Dunn takes down Ruff and lands some mounted strikes. And then Ruff does that corner bounce escape thing, and I thought it made Pete Dunne look really stupid, and I think he needs to stop doing this, except for once in a while, because it makes Pete Dunne look like he's never scouted or seen a Ruff match, or
Right.
anyways, it doesn't look good. But he countered it into a submission at least, instead of just sort of having it be totally effective, I guess. Pete Dunne works Ruff's arm until Ruff hits a head scissors. We get a hard clothesline by Dunne. He goes back to the arm. He pulls on Ruff's face and then slaps him. Ruff fires up, lands a flurry of offense, leading to a missile drop kick. We get a rebound clothesline by Ruff, but his springboard cutter is caught by a Dunne forearm that I thought looked pretty solid.
Yeah, he just literally just hits him
Smacked him out of the air. Dunne slaps on a submission, lands strikes, and the ref stops the match. Dunne stands over Ruff and grabs his hand.
Yeah, like a triangle, just with like rapid elbows, I think it was.
And then after he'd already won, just to be extra vicious, I guess, he grabs Ruff's hand and snaps his fingers. What did you think of this almost squash match?
I thought it was fine. It was decent, but Dunne should have absolutely squashed him. Like, this was a squash, but Ruff should have done nothing.
I would call this enhancement, right? He got a little bit of a flurry.
Because these guys are just not on the same level, let's be honest.
I'm okay with it. It got done a nice convincing win in a quick match. Ruff this is how I like him used. He's enhancement here. He gets one little cool flurry, and then he loses, and we move on. So I was fine with this. Legado are speaking backstage, basically saying the title will stay with them, and by the end of the night, Escobar will be the two-time cruiserweight
Roman
champion.
Mendoza sounded weird again.
Yeah, his voice seems deeper lately or something.
It's just like, it seems to be like different slightly every time. It's weird.
This was super short, as I felt like most of the segments this week were. Like, each guy basically got one line here, and then it was over. I thought it was fine. It was too short to be amazing, so it was fine. Gonzalez is then shown warming up, and Dakota Kai is hyping her up before the match. We get notified that the Frankie Monet will premiere in 2 weeks, which means she'll be making her in-ring debut, I believe, and Cross Balor will also be in 2 weeks. So they took the time to promote those there. Then we move into a match that I was kind of looking forward to, which is for the NXT Women's Championship. It's Mercedes Martinez versus Raquel Gonzalez.
I know we've been getting a lot of title matches, because like last week we got the women's tag, and wasn't there something else? I don't know. But then this week we got
the mid-card one, wasn't it?
North American?
Yeah, was there not? No, there wasn't. Sorry.
But anyways, there was a title match last week.
Cruiserweight.
Yeah, because the Oni Lorcan. No. Was this?
Anyways.
No, yeah, I think there might have been. Anyways, there's a title match last week, title matches this week, and then I think there's a title match next week, which is North American, and then 2 weeks the NXT title. So, like, a lot of title matches.
So this match, Gonzalez has looked amazing leading up to her championship win, and Martinez is a solid veteran, so I was looking forward to this. Both kind of playing like the badass character at the same time,
which is really odd.
The heel face dynamic is not entirely clear in this, which doesn't help. But anyways, Martinez attacks right away and shoves Gonzalez to the floor before hitting a cannonball off the apron. Gonzalez is then run into the barricade outside. We get back in the ring eventually, Gonzalez takes control with clubbing blows heading into the break. We come back with a short arm clothesline by Gonzalez for a 2 count. Power slam by Gonzalez for 2. There's a little bit of sloppiness that happens, and Martinez takes Gonzalez to the mat to sort of get out of whatever they were doing there. We get a missed boot by Gonzalez, a draping, twisting neckbreaker by Martinez for 2. A spear on the apron by Martinez, strikes by Martinez, but Gonzalez drops her across the rope from a powerbomb grip, sort of backwards. Martinez then gets lawn darted into a ring post for 2. More sloppiness again here, and then ends with some stomps from Martinez. A clothesline by Gonzalez for 2. Backbreaker by Gonzalez. Martinez slips out a Gonzalez finisher, hits a nice knee strike. A fisherman buster by Martinez for 2. And more knees by Martinez, but a big boot by Gonzalez and kind of a sudden one-armed powerbomb finisher for the win, and Gonzalez retains the title. What did you think?
I thought this match was decent, like good for TV, I guess. It wasn't bad, but I think we can both agree they're capable of better.
I do, yeah.
I would have liked a little more, maybe a little, I don't know if longer is the right thing to say, but just, I don't know, better.
Cleaner, tighter,
yeah,
sort of would be the words
I would use. A little less
use.
sloppiness, just maybe just a little better, because I think both of them are capable of better.
Yeah, it was decent, but there were some strange miscommunications going on that couldn't be hidden.
Right.
I thought this was the worst relative that Gonzalez has looked in quite some time. And it's not even that she was really bad here. It's just that I've been amazed at how good she's looked with her sort of lack of experience. She's been amazing. So this was just a tiny little stumble here, I think. There were some cool moves in this, but overall it just wasn't great. And I'm not sure why, since I think both of these women are really good. Maybe just an off night or poor chemistry or something. But yeah, I didn't love it.
Yep.
Swerve has arrived with his entourage in the parking lot, which is one of my favorite things going in NXT. So I was glad to see that. The Way are then being dragged out of Bronson Reed's locker room after clearly attacking him. Reed is super angry about it, and another 30-second Way segment, just standard issue. I don't really have any opinion on it, because, again, it was really too short to think much. Did you really?
No, it's fine, I guess. I mean, I don't really know what the purpose was too much, but...
There's just the Way. They have to get their quota of, 4 appearances, or it doesn't count. So Swerve is out on the stage, and he invites his entourage to join him.
And then a new theme hits. Hell yeah!
And I believe it's Hit Row is the group, and the theme sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
and the group looks cool.
Like Hit Row.
I thought they looked really cool.
Yeah,
even coming
their
in.
theme's pretty good, and
I thought so.
It works.
I liked it. Swerve sits in the ring in a chair while the others stand, and he admits that he has made mistakes. He was trying to be someone that the fans wanted him to be, and that wasn't him. Swerve is a savage and disrespectful and dangerous. So he recruited people who think the same way he does. Top Dollar is the big man. And,
AJ Francis.
And so he gets on the mic and he...
I'm hoping these are just like not their ring names.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because we'll keep going.
So he does a little rap. It sounded okay to me, and he sounded confident on the mic, which is the biggest thing, right? So definitely potential there. And then Theodonis takes his turn, and then B-Fab. So she rapped...
Brandy.
Yeah. She rapped on tour, lived overseas, but she came to help Swerve or something, and that Rough is a done deal. Swerve speaks again and says to look at his group. They are a problem, and they make hits. And if you don't know, now you know. So it's a drastic summary, because it was hard for me to summarize what
I would go watch this
if
you can.
But yeah, what did you think about it?
I thought this was really cool. I think Swerve did good as usual. I thought the others did pretty good as well. The Francis and Brandy did good for the first times, and Adonis was good as well. I find this group really cool for some reason. As long as they aren't booked like chumps and they actually do stuff of note, like they have potential. I think their theme was good, suits them well as well, and I'm excited to see what happens to them next, because I thought they were pretty cool here.
Yeah, I like this quite a bit. I don't think it was perfect, but it was a really good start for a new group.
I agree. I'm hoping that they're like Top Dollar and she's B-Fab. I hope that's just like nicknames, because if they're nicknames, that's fine, because that suits the gimmick.
They're performer hip hop names,
right?
Sort of
yeah,
thing, right?
Yeah, and like Isaiah's got Swerve, right?
Exactly.
So I'm hoping it's just that, and then because they have actual names, so.
I think Swerve is fantastic and is looking so confident in this role now. And I thought everybody else was fine, and I see a lot of potential here. I really hope they do well with this, because might be the thing I'm most interested in right now on NXT.
For sure.
Because the main event spot I just said I don't love. So this is really cool, I think.
Yeah.
We then are at an auction of a lakefront mansion where the bidding starts at $2 million, and as soon as I saw this, I knew exactly what was going
me
on.
too.
Grimes shows up and makes the bid. The auction starts, and Grimes is confused. He's quite funny in his performance here, right? He's confused on how the bidding works. It keeps going up and up, and he's getting mad. He finally bids $8 million, and it's about to get it. And then, of course, DiBiase overbids him up to $20 million, and Grimes snaps. And I thought there was aggressive crowd noise pumped in at this point that seemed kind of strange to me.
It was really weird because it's like it's not at NXT at all.
And then we get the DiBiase catchphrase, and Grimes is sort of beside himself because DiBiase is just ruining his life at every turn. What'd you think of this?
I thought this was fun. It was predictable because you knew it was gonna happen
as soon as you saw the set. Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. No, I guess
I saw it coming as soon as I saw things too, and it was mildly amusing. None of these have been as good as they could be. I don't think it's the same kind of gag is coming, and it's now being kind of telegraphed every week. I want to love this because I love Grimes, and the idea of this is good. And it's mildly amusing, but I would like it to be hilarious, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Or act funnier.
Yeah. Zoe Starks then gets a minute to talk about Toni Storm, and she says,
"Yay, talking about Toni Storm."
At some point, Toni stopped wrestling and started talking, and she talks about how hard she works, her time in the gym, and all the effort she puts in. Meaning Zoe, not Toni. Next week in her rematch, I mean, maybe she does too, but she's talking about herself.
I don't think she does.
It won't be an upset. It will be a win for Stark because she is a wrestling machine. I mean, I thought this was just a fine babyface promo, right? She's better in ring than on the mic, but she's not bad here either. But it's very, very just generic babyface stuff, I thought, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. It was fine.
And again,
this whole feud is very just... It's it all started with a random kickoff match, which I find is kind of odd.
And I'm finding a lot of the segments on this show were super quick.
Even
shorter than
quick,
less than a minute, several things I felt. So it's hard to have a very strong opinion.
Right, like a squash match. Right.
Earlier today, Oney Lorcan challenged Kyle O'Reilly in the parking lot, and Kyle accepted the match. Was shown briefly. And then we go right into that match. So it's Oney Lorcan versus Kyle O'Reilly. Starts out with your classic holds and counters. We get a shoulder tackle by Kyle, with a back elbow in return from Lorcan. Armbar in the ropes by Kyle, and Pete Dunne approaches. Kyle obviously turns his attention to Dunne and gets hit from behind by Lorcan. Chops by Lorcan after a commercial leading to an exchange. Knees to the midsection stop Lorcan. Knee strikes and a leg sweep by Kyle. Running forearm and a suplex into a heel hook by O'Reilly. A guillotine by Kyle and another knee. We get a really nice looking brainbuster by O'Reilly and the top rope knee drop to Lorcan's back for the Kyle O'Reilly win. Dunne attacks after the bell, and we get the return of Bobby Fish.
Bobbert Fish.
He returns to make the save as the heels scurry away. Fish and O'Reilly talk in the ring, but
they kind of acknowledge that they're both doing their own thing.
They don't reunite. It's just sort of they each have their own things to take care of, and they'll see each other when they see each other.
That is the fact.
Yep.
I thought this was it was a good little match. And Lorcan had some really good chops. I think he's one of those hard hitters. I thought this was good, but it was clearly just to give O'Reilly another win on his way to the top. There were some hard hitting back and forth, and overall I thought it was a good match, and I'm actually kind of happy to see Bobby Fish back. Because I think he'd be a pretty good addition to the mid card. I know he was a TV champ in ROH, so I think he'd be a cool addition to the mid card.
I thought the match was decent. These two definitely have another gear because I guess this was just a TV sort of not super competitive match. Fish's return doesn't do much for me. I don't really care too much about Bobby Fish, but good for him, I guess, that he's back and healthy. The issue with him is how long will he be healthy, right? He seems to be injured quite a bit.
Yeah, he injured his knee, which then Roderick Strong replaced him, and then there's another thing, and then another thing.
And another thing. Yeah, anyways, hopefully he can stay healthy. We get a surprise, a segment with The Way, as Candice LeRae and Indy sort of as comic book heroes in a movie trailer sort of hype style. Again,
that was funny.
Incredibly short. I did laugh at Theory in the final shot.
I think I saw this on Instagram or something. It's because they're a superhero group or whatever.
So I thought this was actually kind of funny.
Theory's in one of those muscle suits that you use for a Halloween costume.
Even though he's super jacked already.
Which I think is
just
funny.
Sort of the way he was, I don't know, it was something about his face made me laugh. So I don't know. It was funny. Bronson Reed then speaks, and he's sick to death of The Way. Join the club, Bronson. Next week, he gets Johnny in a steel cage. I thought this was decent intensity from Reed here. And again, it's just a super, super short thing that's really hard to critique. So decent intensity is my critique. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know. He was fine here. I'm fine with a cage match next week. I
He's
think that'd
angry
be
and he
cool.
spoke for 30 seconds.
Watch
That's
him
about it.
do like a splash off the top, like
He
what
might.
Kishi did or
He might.
whatever. Like it's his finisher. He has to. I know.
Yep.
I know he's going to. But yeah, it was fine. Good intensity, I guess. Nothing interesting, I guess. Like
No.
I don't know.
Then it is main event time, and it's Santos Escobar with Wild and Mendoza versus Kushida, and it's a 2 out of 3 falls for the Cruiserweight Championship. I was kind of looking forward.
Agreed.
This is like a pay-per-view quality match, I
Right.
would suggest, right? So
And we don't get a lot of 2 or 3 falls matches
No.
these days.
Escobar super kicks Kushida to the floor, and Legado are about to attack, but MSK sort of dive in out of nowhere to make the save here. So the ref obviously throws out Legado, and Kushida hits a senton off the top to Escobar on the floor as he's sort of trying to deal with that situation. We get a big drop kick by Escobar and a leg submission to follow. Chops to Kushida, and Escobar puts him up top. Escobar goes up, drops Kushida across the top turnbuckle from a fireman's carry. I don't know what the move's called, but I think it looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Boston Crab on the steps by Escobar looked cool as well. Surfboard by Escobar transitioned into a chin lock. Kushida then fires up with forearms, but Escobar just chokes him in the ropes. Elbows followed by double running knees to Kushida in the corner. Lots of strikes in the corner by Escobar. Top rope Rana countered into a near fall by Kushida. Springboard elbow and a drop kick by Kushida. But a sudden phantom driver, and Escobar gets the first fall here.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of odd. 'Cause, like, yeah, it was kind of.
He's taking a lot of offense, and then boom, phantom driver, which always looks cool. So, and I think that's a move that should be protected. So I'm glad it did get a fall and there wasn't a kick out.
Mm-hmm.
So Escobar, then he gets the running double knees again, but Kushida hooks in an armbar, and Escobar taps about a minute after getting the pinfall.
Which I thought was also kind of odd.
I thought that was a nice touch because I was not expecting it. So right away now we're tied up 1-1. With obviously the next fall winning.
Right.
Kushida goes for the hoverboard lock, and they roll to the floor. Escobar runs Kushida into the barricade to break free of the hold. Kushida, his arm is snapped over the top, and Escobar hits his amazing suicide dive. Best in the business, I would suggest.
Yeah.
We get a tilt-a-whirl something by Kushida that looked kind of dangerous.
Tilt-a-whirl something, nice.
It looked kind of dangerous.
I honestly don't remember it too much.
I don't know what it was, but I was frantically taking notes because there was a lot going on. We get a knee off the top to Escobar's arm. That is one thing I like about Kushida, is that he constantly is going after that arm, right? And I don't get bored. It's like, that's his finisher, so everything's trying to lead to that, and I kind of dig it. We get a palm strike and a penalty kick as Escobar escapes to the floor to get away from this offensive onslaught. A shoulder separator on the floor to Escobar. Hoverboard countered to an inside cradle by Escobar for a 2 count. We get a kick by Escobar, lots of near falls and counter by each man here. Double clothesline, both guys are down. Insiguri by Escobar, and he goes up top with Kushida. Phantom driver countered with the flipping takedown off the top into a hoverboard lock. I don't know what it's called, but it looks cool. Escobar gets to the ropes.
The flippy
and he transitions directly into the hoverboard on the mat.
I don't know what that's called, but yeah, I like that.
Knees and a suplex in the corner by Kushida. Hammerlock suplex with a bridge for the win, and Kushida retains and wins the second fall. Kushida celebrates in the ring as commentary run down next week matches to sort of close this show. What did you think of this main event?
I thought this was a great match, especially for TV. I think I might have preferred their first match like ever so slightly, but I thought this was still really good. I haven't seen a 2 or 3 falls match in a while, so this was nice to see, and I thought these guys delivered for sure. Both are great in the ring, so this was a good match. Escobar won the first fall, which is fine. I found it a little strange he tapped pretty quickly after,
I thought that was interesting.
It was still fine. Not like strange necessarily in a bad way.
No,
the sequence of the hammerlock suplex into the corner and then in the middle of the ring, which I thought that was a cool ending sequence for Kushida. And this is the division where he can shine, where in-ring matches like this are more important and more on display than character. So I thought this was a really good main event. My favorite match of the show.
I agree. I really like this match. Kushida got the win. Escobar still looked dominant in that first fall. He got a lot of time in control. The sudden second fall I thought was a nice touch just because I wasn't expecting it. And it was a very good match overall. There was one, remember, that seemed to be like a take 2 that seemed to happen in the corner at one point.
Oh, right.
They seemed to just abandon something and then go back to it. But anyways, it wasn't a big deal. This match was still really good. We say it all the time. Escobar is a star and should be moving up the card. And now that he's done with Kushida and probably the Cruiserweight division, I think he will. Kushida's really cool in the ring. He has won us over because for a while we were not impressed in any way. But he
Right.
still desperately needs some character development, right? Like, just give me
Yeah.
something to connect with and care about a
Right.
little bit more. But an excellent main event, especially on TV, I think. So yeah, really good. What'd you think overall? Thoughts on the show?
In my opinion, the show did not start strong, as Theory and Cross bored me,
Agree.
as I yawned numerous times. I'm coming to the conclusion that Cross is just not that good. His offense, aside from his Saito suplexes, is okay at best, and average at best. His forearm finisher, which was only cool the first time he did it, he is slacked on and looks mediocre at best nowadays. Theory is good, but he was in a winless situation, not just because he was going to lose, but because he had no chance of a good match.
You gotta get dominated too.
Right,
with Cross.
and he had no chance of a good match.
Nope.
MSK versus Breezango, it's a solid tag match, but nothing thrilling. I think it could have used some sort of build or reasoning, or like one of those weird little YouTube bits that they always show us.
Yes, weird
Like,
little YouTube bits.
Just like something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Pete Dunne versus Leon Ruff was fine, but Dunne should have just destroyed Ruff because that's how it should go.
Agreed.
Gonzalez versus Martinez was good, but I would have liked better. Maybe a little more time, I think, could have helped, and maybe a little less sloppiness as well. Lorcan and O'Reilly was short and hard hitting, so I think it was good for what it was.
Yeah.
And I am actually kind of interested to see what Bobby Fish does, because I feel like since he's been injured quite a few times, I haven't seen that much from him other than tagging with O'Reilly.
Yeah.
I think this kind of will force him to be in a new situation. Which
he's going to need some character development if he's going singles, for sure.
But
they
can.
I'm
interested to see him. It's cool to see him back. In terms of promos and segments, did not really care for Ruff going to Regal or Gargano doing the same. That was standard for Gargano. Dunn's pre-match promo and open challenge was fine, and he's a good promo now, so that's good. Cameron Grimes' auction segment wasn't bad, but I didn't really care for it. And the one segment I did really like was Hit Row. I thought they were a new faction with a cool gimmick, and they have some great potential. Swerve is always a great promo, and his new associates, I think they did pretty good as well. Best segment of the show, hands down, and maybe my favorite thing on the show. And the only thing that would give it a run for its money, I think, is the main event match, because I thought that was really good. Kushida and Escobar are both great in-ring talents, and showed here this was a stellar 2 or 3 falls match. It was really good for in-ring action aside from the opener. I think the in-ring action was, like, at least, like, good. There wasn't much bad stuff other than the opener, in my opinion. And there weren't that many segments that were super notable, because, like you said, a lot of them were, like, really short.
Super short.
And the only one that was really good was Hit Row. Overall, a pretty good show. I'd give it a B+, because it was, like, majority pretty good, and I would say a little above average.
Yeah. It looks like I liked it a little less than you, but not too much. The opener, again, Cross Theory wasn't great. The women's match was decent, but it under-delivered for me. Lots of really short standard promos. MSK Breezango was kind of fun. Dunn got a decisive win, which is good. The main event and the Swerve segment, as you said, my 2 favorite things on this show easily. Nothing else really caught my attention. It felt like a pretty standard B- show to me. So not bad, but like getting close to not being good. You know what I mean? Few things that were really good, the main event and the Swerve. I think I just kind of have issues with the holders of the male singles titles right now. It's starting to bother me a little bit. Cross is just not interesting in any area to me right now. The North American title's on a cowardly heel who I honestly forget has it, despite him being on the show multiple times every week, but he's just doing such a comedy and everything else. I honestly forget he has it sometimes. The Cruiserweight belt is on a super strong wrestler who offers nothing else so far. So
yeah,
I think
I think is both good and bad.
It's a bit of a lull in the singles championships for me.
Yeah.
Considering we had the best Balor I've ever seen, a really cool Escobar, and a somewhat different, more interesting Gargano with the belt not that long ago, right? This is a decline for me. Main event, excellent. Everything else in ring was just fine. There's like 2 squash enhancement matches, a somewhat sloppy, underwhelming women's match, and a decent tag match. So a B- from me.
Nice.
Right, so that moves us into, let's take a look at a little bit of wrestling trivia in our segment called Off the Top of His Head. So last week we looked at the best matches in Backlash history.
As we know, there's like so many to choose from.
So I thought this week, as Backlash is tomorrow?
Yeah.
I got one more chance to look at Backlash. So let's investigate some of the worst matches in Backlash history.
All
right. So we'll start out with a recent one. Dave Meltzer.
Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns?
No. Gave
Oh.
this opening 3-team match for the Women's Tag Team Championship from Backlash 2020 2 stars. Ooh, a recent one. I didn't think I'd need more than one
Bliss
clue.
and Cross, I think?
Correct. One team.
Banks and Bailey?
Correct. And?
Kabuki Warriors?
No. It is a team that no longer exists. Nor is employed with the company?
Iconics.
Correct. All right. At Backlash 2006, 2 men joined forces to take on a man and his invisible opponent.
Oh, Shane and Vince McMahon
Yes.
versus Shawn Michaels and God.
And Gad, that's correct. The only other thing I had for that one, in the end, the Spirit Squad showed up to help squash the babyface competitor who was totally helpless.
Even though
all
he's
right.
teaming with God.
The main event of Backlash 2003 featured a dream match that did not live up to expectations. That's my first clue. Any thoughts?
Goldberg and The Rock?
Correct. The match was slow-paced and too long. There wasn't much chemistry between them, and they just couldn't put on a good show, despite one being an, quote, electrifying performer. That was my next hint. And I should tell you, this is a lot of this is from the Sportster, and then, I don't know, a couple other places I'll check in a second if we need to. WWE Championship match from Backlash 2017. That's my first.
Oh, Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal.
Yes, of course.
Ew, that was gross.
A surprise WWE champion emerged from this match as he defeated a first ballot Hall of Famer.
That's fair.
And the match did not deliver.
It did not.
Backlash 2002 main event for the WWE Championship.
Triple H.
Versus?
Undertaker?
No.
Hulk Hogan.
Correct. My next clue isn't nice. Featured a racist older wrestler somehow defeating a star in his prime, despite the older man being clearly exhausted in the first 10 minutes. I may have editorialized that. That might not be directly from my sources. A terrible clash between 2 monsters at Backlash 2008.
2008. Kane and Great Khali.
You are half correct. Great Khali is correct.
Okay. Batista. Oh, Big Show.
Correct. The finish
Wait,
saw
Batista or Big Show?
Big Show.
Oh.
The finish saw one giant
terrible.
chokeslam the other after the two slowly moved around the ring for this whatever the match, I guess. A recent women's match from 2020 between a talented, experienced woman and a less talented.
I know.
Go ahead.
Asuka and Nia Jax.
Correct. And I had my second clue was the match ended in. Do you remember?
Was it count out?
Double count out.
Yeah.
Always exciting on a pay-per-view. People really love that.
Especially when it's Nia Jax.
Yeah. A 2020 2-on-1 handicap match in which a monster looked really weak.
Braun Strowman versus Miz and Morrison.
Correct. The two dominated the one, but one partner stopped the other's pinfall attempt, and the larger man ended up winning, was my second clue to that.
Yeah.
Because it's hard when you have to pull out all the names, because a lot of these, they mentioned the people, and I have to take their names out. Excuse me. From arguably the worst Backlash ever, which would be what year? I think you agree.
2018.
Correct. The main event was a huge disappointment.
Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe.
Correct. The crowd,
that pay-per-view sucked, except for the opener.
It came up in this worst of a lot. I felt like 2018 and 2003 were in there a lot.
2018 was pretty bad.
So my other clues for that one were the crowd was bored and performed numerous chants, including Beat the Traffic, which I thought was funny. And fun fact, many fans had left the event before this match as it was considered a terrible pay-per-view overall. So apparently a bunch of people had just left before this.
No, the opener was the only good thing.
Right, it was Miz and someone, right?
Rollins.
Right. Next one, a 6.5.
I love Beat the Traffic.
A 6.5 minute singles match from Backlash 2002. That's hard. So my next clue is very helpful.
Rico.
No. 2 large, hard-hitting performers accompanied by X-Pac and Bradshaw at ringside. So who would those 2 guys be?
Big Show?
No. Couple hosses, I would suggest.
Mark Jindrak.
No. X-Pac, who would he be with? Who are his
Albert?
buddies?
Oh, Kevin Nash.
There you go. Keep going, but no.
Scott Hall.
Correct. Versus who would?
Kevin Nash.
No.
Oh, Farouk.
Oh my God. Sorry, I gave It's Bradshaw. In my hint, I said Bradshaw. So never
Oh.
mind. It was Scott Hall and Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Because I said accompanied by X-Pac and Bradshaw, and that was supposed to be
Farouk.
Farouk. Yeah. So I blew that one. I'll give it to you. At Backlash 2003, told you it would come up again, a WWE big man faced a young WCW talent in this less than 5-minute match.
Big Show.
Nope. Roddy Piper and a coconut made an appearance during this match.
Oh, Sean O'Hare.
And?
Hulk Hogan.
Nope. Big man.
Undertaker.
Nope.
Kane.
Not that big. More heavy than tall.
Mark Henry. Umaga.
No. Oh, sorry. That's right. No. Not Umaga. Rikishi.
Oh.
I could do a Rikishi driver while I was sitting. I was trying to give you a hint.
Oh, I thought that was the Samoan Spike.
A match from Backlash 2002 that involved two all-time greats competing to become the number one contender to the undisputed WWF
Austin
Championship.
and Undertaker.
Correct.
Don't know why I know that.
Do you know who the special guest referee was? Because that was my next clue.
Ric Flair.
Correct.
Really?
Nice. Yeah.
Nice.
It was. So an article I read from just after Backlash 2018, surprise, surprise, called this match, quote, one of the worst women's matches in recent memory.
Was it Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax?
No.
Oh, was it Charlotte and Carmella?
Yes. This next clue was this match was for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Last one.
Because I think Carmella had cashed in after Mania.
I think you'll know this one for sure. I only have one clue. This WWE Championship match, also from 2018, surprise, wasn't bad overall, but the no contest finish left the fans who had extremely high expectations for this match disappointed. Right? Including us, I think.
AJ Styles and Nakamura.
Yes, which is like, people seem to forget this. There are
Double
all
dick
these
kick for the end.
all these dream matches that were AJ was going to have, right? And a lot of them didn't really pan out. And people seem to forget that a little bit. And they think every match AJ's had has been amazing in WWE.
I don't think it was always his fault, but...
No, and this one, actually, the match wasn't bad. It was just like, what? That was the end of a match we all really wanted to see?
Match. Even like his match with Seth Rollins, I remember from like 2019.
Yeah.
I remember liking it, but I remember like I knew that that could have been better.
Right. Well, I'd say you did a very good job on that, and that's going to end all the Backlash trivia. I'll have to find something new to talk about next week, but that will bring us to talking back to in-depth review, and this one is looking at this week's AEW Dynamite.
And we kick off our show with Yuji Nagata challenging Jon Moxley for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship.
Have you ever seen Nagata in anything before this?
No, I know who he is.
You knew of him,
I've heard
but you've never seen him?
I've never actually seen a match, really.
Fair enough. I was telling you during the match, one of the things he was famous for, I believe, is his facial expressions are pretty legendary. But anyways, go ahead.
And the US title actually had, like, a lot of AEW guys have held it, like Omega and Cody.
Right.
And New Japan or the Impact Tag Champ, Juice Robinson.
Yep.
My boy Jay White.
Your boy Jay
Omega
White.
was actually the first champion thing. I think it was Omega, then Jay White, then Juice Robinson.
I didn't tell you. I was just listening to...
Then Mox, and Lance Archer also, and then Mox again.
I was just listening to something. I forget who it was, so that's not helpful. But basically, he was saying that he thought Jay White was the best performer in the world right now.
Yes.
Maybe.
He's never openweight champion. First guy to hold all the New Japan singles titles.
Nice.
Just found out. Anyways.
Mox with new music. You were nervous for a minute.
Yeah. So he's coming out with the Wild Thing song.
By the Trogs. Great tune on my phone.
Which is a tribute to Onita, the deathmatch Japan guy, and who came out to that song, but the version from Major League.
Right.
So Mox technically had the wrong version.
And you were a little bit worried, like, what? Why is this?
But I think it's just a one-time, because it was a tribute to Onita, so that's fine. And this match is contested under New Japan Pro Wrestling rules. For those of you who don't know, then they have a 20 count for outside the ring over there, which I think is like basically kind of what AEW has, because they're pretty lax.
I prefer it, because then if you want to give them a little bit more time, the ref doesn't have to look foolish by like not counting or stopping his count or really, really dragging it out, right? Because they get a bit more times. Because sometimes, the ref finds something to do to stop their count or counts
Right. Well, in
incredibly
AEW, it's at
slowly.
least leniency.
Very much
or
so.
they can just start later.
Very much
But
so.
yeah, so they have a 20 count. I can't remember if there's any. 60-minute time limit as well.
Right.
So anyways, we start with the strike exchange. Lots of strikes in this match.
Yeah.
A kitchen sink knee, which is basically just like that knee to the midsection, kind of like running and
Yes. The rope run and then sudden knee to the
and
gut.
then a boot by Nagata. Mox sends Nagata into the ring post. Corner clothesline shots by Mox, kind of like Roman Reigns always did. Elbow drop for 2 by Mox. Chest kicks by Mox for 2. Stiff chest kicks by Nagata after he countered an elbow drop from Mox. Corner boot and an exploder suplex for 2 by Nagata. Nagata fakes out Mox and then drop kicks him in the leg. Chest kicks by Nagata as Mox welcomes more and more. Forearm exchange between the two. German suplex by Mox. A lariat by Mox for 2. Corner rising knee by Nagata and an avalanche exploder suplex, followed by a chest kick for near fall after Mox flipped him off. Not flipped him, but middle finger.
Yeah.
Sleeper hold applied by Mox, and Nagata eventually counters and gets an arm breaker, kind of like Becky Lynch's submission.
Disarm her.
Yeah.
Disarm her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mox gets a rope break, another forearm exchange, a boot and an enziguri by Nagata, and a rebound sliding lariat by Mox for 2. Strike exchange again, a knees, and a paradigm shift for the win by Mox.
Yeah, kind of out of nowhere a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a pretty big one. I thought the match was good. Nagata, I thought his kicks especially still looked good.
I think they did about as good as they could have with a 53-year-old wrestler.
I said it to you before. Nagata looked good for his age, but not good for any age, if you know what I mean. For a 53-year-old dude, yeah, he looked good. So I thought this was a good match. It wasn't exactly a fast-paced and exciting, but it was solid. And I'm sure it was a thrill for Moxley to do this, right? Have this match against this guy in North America. It was probably pretty cool. So I wasn't in love with it, but I don't think it was bad either.
There's a bit of a post-match show of respect as well. And I thought this was a good opener. It was a hard-hitting affair for sure. Nagata was as good as I would have expected given he's 53. And I think they played to his strengths, which was mainly striking. And the strike exchanges, to be fair, were pretty stiff and the best stuff of the match. Wasn't as good as some of the previous AEW openers, but I think this is good. And I hope this is the beginning of New Japan guys coming to AEW, because that is a working relationship that will be amazing once we get more matches out of it. Because so far we've only gotten Kenta and Nagata.
And I think the benefit for someone like you is you might look at this and go, clearly this guy was probably awesome 15 years ago. Maybe I'll go check it out, right? You see enough out of Nagata here to go, man, imagine this guy in his prime. He probably was pretty awesome. If this is what he's doing at 53, right? So you might even be kind of the target for them because you've heard of him but not seen him, and now maybe you're like, I'm gonna go check out some of his stuff because he was probably amazing.
Next again, Inner Circle interview, which is
Half
only
of them.
Ortiz, Guevara, and Hager. Ortiz says they had the Pinnacle beat, but MJF showed his true colors. Ortiz said MJF had Santana detained for the fork stabbing. In reality, I think he's just a little sick.
Yeah.
Hager says it's not over because they are still alive, and Sammy says they will continue coming for them until they get a rematch.
Yeah, I thought Ortiz and Sammy particularly were good, and that Hager was good for him, which still isn't great by
kind of like you're saying for Nagata
regular standards. And I don't know, are they really this surprised by MJF's behavior? That would be my critique, right? Really, you're surprised that he did this? Because I don't think you should be.
Even though you surrendered.
But I thought Ortiz particularly was good with his intensity, so that was fine.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, but I don't know, not really important, I guess.
No, just quick.
Next we get, I know you were looking forward to it. I certainly was. Cody Rhodes' Double or Nothing announcement. I'm warning you, this is bad. So he basically talks about American stuff, just goes full patriot on us.
He does. He found a new way to pander to the fans there, which is what he does.
He says he has never not been proud to be an American. Well, I don't know why, given some of the recent stuff, I don't know how that's true.
And I think that's what he's trying to be timely and say, even with what's going on in the world, I'm still a huge patriot.
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is basically because he's talking, and then he talks about Ogogo running down the U.S., so now, because one guy from not here insulted America, Cody will go full patriot on this guy.
That's correct.
He says Ogogo didn't come here to live the England dream. Ooh.
Mhm.
burn. And he talks about a bunch of old wrestling stuff that he lost me here. He's saying so much without saying much at all, and he was losing me. I was honestly
He puts himself over for having a black wife, and he's gonna
Oh
have a
yeah,
mixed
he
race
cries
baby.
while talking about his daughter who will
Starts
be
to
born.
cry.
Right. He talks because he's crying about he has a black wife. His daughter's gonna be half black, and like. Oh
So
my
this is an
God.
accomplishment for Cody,
Right?
I guess. That
Yeah.
Yep.
He's got to rub it in everyone's faces that he's a patriot. He supports black people. He doesn't like the foreigner.
Yep.
I'm like, he knows lots about wrestling, and he says he'll face. I wrote Ogog, but I meant Ogogo at Double or Nothing because that's the match I want on pay-per-view. He says it won't be the American Nightmare, but it'll be Ogogo versus the American Dream. Cody Rhodes. Ooh.
Yep.
Thoughts on this horrible piece of crap?
I tell you and your brother not to use this word often because it's a strong word, but I pretty much hated this promo. I guess to be fair to Cody for a second, he delivered it well, but it was a rambling,
The
self-indulgent,
crying was much.
nonsense that he does. He's so arrogant that I think he believes he's elevating these guys by doing this, but I don't see it. He's pandering, he's grandstanding. And to anybody outside of the US, this is not an endearing promo a babyface makes.
Even if you are in the US, I don't know how, it was just kind of boring.
You're telling all of us outside of the US, it's the American going, my country's the greatest, my country's the freest.
American dream.
We're better than all of you. Everyone
Right.
comes here to live a better life. And it's just...
Nah, I'm chilling, actually.
It's just not something that's endearing him anywhere other than maybe in certain parts of his own country. I told you if I weren't watching this to review it and talk about it, I probably would have changed the channel because this was really hard to pay attention
Yeah.
to. This is
he lost me.
I know I'm
pretty
exaggerating, but who needs to cut a 20-minute promo on a guy that has barely wrestled and accomplished nothing in a go-go?
And
it's
then
Cody
also
Rhodes.
America.
So I was not a fan of
Yeah.
this, to say the least, and I don't know what Cody's doing. He has to turn heel at some point because... Anyways, I don't even want to talk about it that much, but this annoyed me greatly. I did not like it.
This is boring. This is not good. I didn't understand most of what he was saying, other than patriotism, and he's going to face a go-go. And so I had 3 takeaways from this. Well, okay, maybe 5-ish. 1, Cody is American. 2, Cody knows lots about wrestling. 3, Cody is proud to be American, and America's number 1.
Yep.
4, he has black wife and black daughter. And 5, he's gonna face a go-go.
They got the market cornered on freedom down there, but
Mostly
what are the rest of us
America.
gonna do?
Right.
I don't know. We'll look to them.
I'm not very free over here. I'd
Anyways.
love to be more free. Yeah, no, this is bad. No thanks.
Yep.
We get an SCU package, which even if this is bad, it would be better than what we just talked about. But it wasn't bad.
It's funny you say that.
SCU package. Daniels talks about being on the road with the Bucks and feeling like family, and Cass says they can hang with the cool guy, and that's on them, like the Bucks, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Daniels says it wasn't an AEW stipulation; it was a challenge. Referring to the stipulation they break up on their next loss. And Daniel says they're willing to do anything for the titles. I thought this was a fine promo from SCU to remind us a bit of their history with the Bucks before the title match.
I like this overall. It was simple with a realistic tone, like the exact opposite of what we saw just before this, right?
Yep.
They kept it simple, they kept it realistic
They didn't
sounding.
blabber on for half an hour.
The only nitpick, I don't like, Kaz at one point said that this isn't a story, right? That they're breaking up or whatever. I don't like when wrestlers are basically like, everything else you're watching is fake, but this is not fake. This part's really real.
That's fair.
I don't love when they do that. But this is an example for Cody. Sometimes less is more, right? This is really simple and brief, and I much
Sometimes less
preferred
is
it
good
to his rambling 10-time longer nonsense
about
from before.
America.
Yep.
And then next we roll right into the tag team title match between the Young Bucks and SCU. So Nick Jackson and Kazarian start. Holds encounters. Nick avoids and runs away from Kaz, and then Kaz catches up to him in the ring. Again, after they kind of went out and went back in, and he hits a 3-strike combo. Daniels tags in, a neckbreaker by Kaz, and a back suplex lariat combo to Matt Jackson by SCU. A slingshot leg drop by Kaz. Daniels tags in again. Combo by SCU. Matt tags in, hits a lariat on Kaz. Wrecking Ball dropkick to Daniels by Matt. Apron powerbomb by Matt on Daniels, and then Matt holds Daniels for Nick to hit a swanton bomb off the apron.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. And Nick and Christopher Daniels are legal after the commercial break. A stomp thingy by Daniels. Sit-up powerbomb neckbreaker combo for 2 by SCU.
Is that the celebrity rehab? I think they called it. Because I made a note.
It's coming up.
Oh, sorry. I made a note that it was cool, but then I forgot what it was.
Matt saves. I got it right here. Actually,
Nice.
Matt saves Nick from a double team and celebrity rehab by SCU, which is Kaz doing so he has him in the back suplex position. He flips Matt into a double knees.
Oh right, that's
from
right.
Daniels. SU attempt the BME driver, but Matt saves Nick. Leg drop to Matt by Kaz. Nick hits a corner high knee, Domagiri, and then the forearm bulldog combo to Kaz. Just a whole bunch of stuff there.
There is.
A slingshot face buster by Nick. Daniels gets busted open off the ring post. Really?
Yeah, because he has.
Bad.
Have you seen the pictures since? He's got a bunch of stitches over his eye.
Shocker.
Yeah, it didn't look great.
Yeah, he got busted open real bad. Slingshot catch cutter by Kaz for 2. Where he kind of makes the other person slingshot in and then cutters them.
Mm-hmm.
Matt tags in Domagiri buckle bomb by the Bucks, which will never get old. Kaz counters more bang for your buck with the victory roll for 2. Nick tries to dive at him, but Kaz catches him and then hits a Northern Light suplex. And he's still in a pin position, so he bridges on Nick, but he pins Matt again for 2.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of cool. Nick gets backdrop onto the ramp. Kaz gets a small package, but Gallows distracts the ref to avoid the count. And Kaz looks at Gallows, and Anderson hits a Styles Clash on Matt for 2, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yep.
Nick attacks Kaz with right hands. Nick avoids a cutter, and Matt super kicks Kaz. Matt hits a tombstone pile driver, and Nick hits a running knee, but Daniels breaks the pin. Daniels hits Nick with the Angel's Wings, which is basically the fairy tale ending that Ciampa does. Daniels tags in a spear by Matt. Daniels avoids a super kick, but Matt counters the Angel's Wings. And Matt mocks the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair finish with the I'm Sorry, I Love You. And super kicks Daniels for a near fall, which I thought was actually really good, because that's how Ric Flair was done. So I thought that was really funny. An Iranagi by Daniels, but he botched the BME kind of. Although they played off as he was tired, and he just missed the top rope completely. So I'm honestly not sure if it was a botch, because it looked like a very contrived botch.
Either it was intentional because he was selling exhaustion and whatever, or
because he was bleeding profusely,
or it was a save. And either way, it works, right?
Right.
I think.
Yeah. And he actually does hit the BME after for 2. And Matt sprays Daniels with a cold spray. Super kicks Kaz, and then hits Daniels with the can for 2, which I thought was a great near fall as well.
Yep.
And then the BTE trigger on Daniels for the win, and they actually do retain. And then Mox and Kingston gets shown shortly after trashing the Elite's dressing room. Thoughts?
I thought this was an awesome match. A clinic in double team maneuvers. I think both sides. I really liked the way SCU was working, especially at the beginning. They were just dominating, isolating, and constant double teaming. It made it seem like they really did need to win. I thought they looked great, especially early on, like a tag team fighting for their lives. And I thought this match was really good. The Bucks, what can you say? They're incapable of a bad match, right? So to me, it's really about what do their opponents do. And I thought SCU looked awesome. This match was really fun. I actually thought there was a chance SCU was going to win.
No, I agree.
To keep them together. And because, like I was saying before, I don't think the Bucks need the belts to wrestle Moxley and Kingston. That's a big enough story without belts attached. But they did retain. I thought this was a really fantastic match. And I just wonder what's next for Kaz and Daniels at this point.
So this was a great match, because I think there was some great in-ring action. Like you said, Bucks are pretty much always good, and SU were really on fire in this match. Good way to go out.
And I've been critical of Daniels before, right?
Yeah.
But they looked awesome here.
And I think another thing that helps, we've complained about this before, is huge stakes.
Yeah, there was stakes.
Field, right? Daniels and Kaz have been teaming forever, and you could really believe they didn't want to lose. They needed a win here. I thought Matt mocking the Michaels Flair finish was really funny, just because that was a huge moment.
Yeah, in a retirement.
Right, and a retirement match, yeah. And Daniels kicking out that super kick and the cold spray cheat made you think SEO were really going to make that winning comeback, which is good, because matches are always better when they have you guessing who's going to come out on top. I'm interested to see, like you said, what happens to Kaz and Daniels now that they are on their own, and Sky's on his own too. All of SCU,
yes.
they're done.
Yep.
But I think they should be proud, because they went out on top, if you ask me, because this was an awesome match, a banger. And it's going to be a pretty big win when the Bucks are dethroned, whether that's Mox and Kingston or another up and coming team. Like I think it's going to be pretty huge because they just took out SCU.
AEW does seem to do a good job of like building the prestige of their titles, right? There's been some lengthy runs
Mox
already.
He took out like Brody Lee, Jericho, Hager, MJF,
and Cody defended a lot. Darby defended a lot. Omega's gonna have a run, right? So yeah,
and even Sheeta's done pretty
a long
good.
run, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. They've done really good with their titles so far. But yeah, so a really good match. And then we go to Christian Cage.
Yep.
Christian Cage gets an interview. He talks about the Taz technique segment last week. He says Taz used to be bad man and now he's not. Cage says he has an open contract and he invites Taz to send out anyone to face him. And he says he's going to enter the Casino Battle Royale and he plans on winning. Matt Sydal, of all people, interrupts and says Cage won't win because he's in the Battle Royal as well. Because that means he's gonna win, right?
Yep.
Matt Sydal says Cage won't have to worry about Team Taz because he signed the open contract for the match next week and he'll beat Cage before winning the Battle Royal and he'll end the Christian hype train. Thoughts?
I thought it was fine.
I think Christian also made a line referencing the...
It did make... There was a line. I think it was something like him going to Taz for help with technical wrestling would be like Taz going to him for help with something about help with how to do a buffet or something, right? Like basically like you would never come to me about eating because you're very overweight and clearly eat a lot. So I would never go to you about wrestling because I know...
I think Christian, he made a reference to the Sydal botch.
Oh, yes, he did that as well. He did. Like, maybe it'll go better for you this time, haha, or something. I thought it was fine. They'll probably have a good match. There wasn't really much to this.
I find it weird, that, like, the first year of AEW, they had the Casino Battle Royal at Double or Nothing, right? Because I remember Page won, and that was to set up his match with Jericho.
Right.
And then last year, they had the Casino Ladder match, or the ladder thingy, at Double or Nothing, and then the Battle Royal was at All Out, so it's kind of been all over the place. I think it works better at Double or Nothing because it's got the casino machine logos all over the stuff and whatnot.
It's more on brand.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was fine. Sydal was decent, and I still don't like Christian, so.
Fair.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan, we'll see.
Pac versus Orange Cassidy, and the winner faces Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing for the AEW title.
Right.
Cassidy puts his sunglasses on Pac, who takes them off and breaks them. A beach break right off the bat by Cassidy for near fall, which I thought was interesting. Hands in pockets and a suicide dive by Cassidy, and he puts on his backup sunglasses.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah, which is, I guess, hence why he put them on Pac.
Yeah, because he knew he was going to lose them, probably.
Right. Post-commercial break, Pac sends Cassidy into the barricade multiple times, and he chokes Cassidy with his knee in the ring. Top rope shotgun dropkick by Pac, and another top rope shotgun dropkick. And a top rope shotgun dropkick to the back by Pac.
In classic Pac fashion, they look more impactful than most people's dropkicks somehow. Like, I don't know what it is about. Especially I had the second one look like it killed.
Right. Cassidy rolls across the ring like lazily to prevent a dive from Pac as he was going up to the top. Pac stomps on Cassidy and goes back up. Cassidy rolls in this time, like under the turnbuckles, so that Pac can't dive onto him. And Cassidy sends Pac into the middle turnbuckle, pretty good. Victory roll by Cassidy for 2. A big super kick by Pac. A gnarly sit-up powerbomb by Pac for 2 really landed Cassidy high on his shoulders.
Looked vicious.
Callis distracts and taunts Pac and tells him to hurry up, which I thought was funny. And then Omega hits Pac with the AEW title as the ref is distracted and Cassidy's already down. A match goes to the draw for like a double, neither got up. Callis says there's no winner, so Omega has no opponent. Omega says he thinks they should go on a road trip because they have 2 losers here, and nobody wants to see losers. Shivani interrupts, but Omega tells him to shut up. Shivani says there will be a title match, and it'll be a triple threat match against Pac and Cassidy, which, hey, they haven't done any triple threat title matches, so actually, I'm happy about this.
And I like triple threats.
And I heard Cassidy was like legit KO'd at some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or like just like knocked out or whatever. So I think this had to be changed on the fly.
I thought this match was fun while it lasted, and the dynamic's interesting because they couldn't be more different, right? You've got the super intense guy who's
right. This was like Cassidy's first main feud where he wrestled, I think.
Versus the guy who just doesn't care about like the ultimate uptight guy and the ultimate laid back guy kind of wrestling. The finish doesn't bother me too much since it kind of fits Omega's character. They don't do it a
And
ton in
I think
AEW.
this is on the fly too, because
Yeah.
it really did seem like Cassidy was winning. So I think it makes sense that this is
Well,
on the fly. But I'm not even mad.
Especially after all the promos
really cool.
last week, they made it sound like Cassidy was winning for sure, right?
Right, but I honestly like this better.
This makes Pac look strong. Since basically it looks kind of like Omega will go to great lengths to avoid facing him, right? It seems like they did not want to face Pac. And I'd way rather, honestly, a triple threat than just Cassidy
because
Omega.
I think it's actually unique here. I don't remember ever seeing. I think they might have done one at like their early pay-per-views, but I don't think they've ever done one for one of their titles before. So I think this is really interesting.
You probably won't like this, but I just don't believe Orange Cassidy is a main event player. Like I don't believe.
I'm not sure how. I would. I think I might have to see it.
If he's in a title match, I don't believe he's winning it. Let's put it that way.
I think especially. Well, yeah. I think that part of it is it's Omega right now, though.
So he's cool and fun, but I don't think he's a main belt guy. So I'm glad that Pac's added to get this a little bit more legitimacy. I'm sure Omega's still winning.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'd feel about Cassidy in the main event. I feel like I'd have to see it.
Yeah, and we will.
So I thought this match was pretty good up until the finish, but I'm honestly fine with the finish if it means to get through it, because I think all three of these guys are really good.
Yep.
I don't think AEW's really done any triple threat matches yet, so I think this will be new, and like you said, it's like new and refreshing, right? And all three of these guys are good. Pac hit some pretty sick offense in this match. I wish Cassidy had gotten a little more, but knowing that he got like KO'd or whatever, I think that's understandable.
It is.
Overall, I think a good match given the circumstances, and Double or Nothing starting to look good.
Of course, it'll be good.
Super Elite in their dressing room, which is right now just the Bucks and the Good Brothers. But they all kind of complain about Mox and Kingston trashing the room. Gallows, of course, had to speak and says Mox and Kingston have been disrespecting them for too long. And Matt talks about putting SCU out for good. And Matt says they are quote-unquote fighting champions and they'll face the number one contenders next week, which is the Varsity Blondes. Why wouldn't you face the number 5 contenders? Like, respect the rankings,
right.
Dude. And Matt challenges Mox and Kingston to a match at Double or Nothing.
Surprise.
I thought this was fine. I don't know why Gallows talked. It wasn't necessary in my opinion, but this is fine. Setting up some stuff.
Excuse me. I thought Matt cut a decent promo here. And I'm not sure how the Weasley heel like fighting champion idea works, right? Like they're doing the fighting champion babyface thing.
Well, maybe they'll pull something cheap, or like
heels.
You know that they're number 1 ranked. They know the Varsity Blondes aren't that like legit.
And all their matches are good, so who cares? But I feel like there's a bit of a situation because this whole AEW is focused on the rankings mattering, but then the rankings are basically based on stuff that
don't matter.
I don't watch. I mean, I don't think a ton of people
squash
watch.
matches like on Dark and whatnot.
So,
and even then, like, sorry, SCU were the number 1 ranked before this, right?
Right.
And they had to still win that 4-way tag.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's just like they're compiling these stats on things that I don't see. So it's kind of like if the fans aren't seeing them, are they really happening? And I don't know. It's just this weird situation where
even if people are watching it, Dark is squash matches.
Yes.
And Elevation is like a little above that. So I don't know how, like,
I've said it before. They need to do what college basketball does, and it's strength of schedule too. Like, not only does your win-loss matter, but your strength of opponents matter. Like, me beating 10 guys on Dark isn't the same as you beating Kenny Omega, right? Like, one of those things is worth more than the other, I think. But anyways, it's all made up stuff, so who cares? It's just I find it a bit strange because I had no idea the Blondes were anywhere near number 1 contenders.
I guess they were in that 4-way tag, so they were in the top 4, I think. So I guess they were ranked number 2 because then SCU are obviously not ranked number 1 anymore.
Even if when they give me the updates on the rankings, if they would say like moved up 3 spots, moved down a spot, like that would even give me a few more details to latch onto.
It's on their website, but I would like
again.
I would like it. Honestly, wouldn't even take that much time. I think it would be even if it's at the beginning of the show,
right? Because it's extra effort by me, and I do catch Elevation the odd time and stuff, but I'm not.
I think it'd be a cool thing to have at the beginning of the show.
Anyways,
next we get Hangman the Dark Order, and now so we talked a bunch about. Like Hangman was ranked number 1 and then kind of lost a cage to kind of keep him away from Omega. But I think their plans failed because Hangman's ranked number 5 now.
Which always gets you a title
shot.
Right,
and so I like, what's gonna happen? Like
he's actually on a faster track.
I know. Yeah. It's like reverse. Like their plan failed. So Hangman says in regards to his loss, it was bound to happen via shenanigans, but nonetheless. like referring to him losing because he was on a streak a bit. Hangman says Cage didn't beat him though, Taz did, and Hangman challenges Cage to face him without Team Taz. And Hangman says if he loses, that's fine, but for Cage, it's double or nothing.
Ooh.
And then the Dark Order kind of were funny about that.
Oh, yeah,
John
like,
Silver.
yeah.
He's like, this isn't even the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He's like, that's really clever.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I thought that Paige is so calm and confident. A really nice delivery of this. Silver was funny at the end. Like, he's just in awe of Paige being just so clever and amazing, right? Just loves this guy to death. So it's kind of like, as you said, and as we expected, it looks like Paige needed to move down the rankings a little bit.
I think he moved it down a little too much, though.
To delay this Omega Paige interaction. But, and this is what I've said forever, right? As soon as fans come back, Hangman Page is going to be absolutely humongous.
Hey,
and
there's fans at Double or Nothing.
That's what I'm saying. They're very close to coming back, so I think that they'll start to reheat Page because he's going to be I think one of the most over baby faces they could imagine.
It's weird because like before AEW, he was like the Bullet Club's mid-carder.
He's the guy I would have take the title off Omega, but I would
for sure
have a super slow build to it. And I think...
Which I think they actually excel at.
Yep, so I think Paige is going to be a super mega star very shortly. And he should be, I agree with
this is a good promo from Hangman. I have no problem whatsoever with another match versus Cage.
No.
Because I think they're both really
Agree,
good.
yep.
Hangman is ranked number 5, though, so their plan to keep him away from Omega right now has failed. I think he needs to get a title shot before Double or Nothing even. Like,
maybe.
I think that might be what you have to do. Like,
that's our running gag, folks.
Yeah, well,
if you're ranked 5th, you're getting a shot.
I'm not even sure if it's a gag, because like the Acclaimed, Abaddon, probably someone else.
It has happened a few times, for sure.
Yeah. Next we get the Pinnacle Coordination, and MJF, of course, being MJF, is wearing a crown.
And he calls the crowd poors right off the bat, which made me laugh really a lot.
MJF also says he told us so, and now he's the demo god, and he is king, referring to his crown. He says he will be referred to as the GOAT from now on. He tells us to bow to him in the Pinnacle, and MJF says they are to thank for AEW's #1 rating placement last week. He also says they did great on TSN in Canada, and I was like, hey, shout out.
Yep.
Because they have a Canadian hero.
Yeah,
and
clearly.
Sean Spears.
From
which
Niagara
I thought
Falls.
was really funny.
Yep.
I don't remember if it was in the Young Bucks match or something, if he was on commentary, or if it was something else, but I don't know if it's coming up. I just want to mention it because I'm remembering it now.
Yeah.
Because he said the MJF thing was funny, and Don Callis, I remember when he was on commentary. Excalibur was talking about something old, and he's like, speaking of old, welcome Don Callis.
Yes,
I love his jabs at Don Callis.
Yep.
Anyways, MJF says he is confused why the Inner Circle want a rematch when they are short 2 people. MJF asks the fans if they want a rematch, and they cheer, but in classic heel fashion, he says no. Tully Blanchard says they took everything the Inner Circle could dish out, and they made the Inner Circle quit. Tully says when you quit, and the Inner Circle, or the Pinnacle, are the best. Tully says they have the 5 best wrestlers and the 5 most beautiful women in the city here, because they got just random people on the apron. Tully gives them all expensive watches. Tully says that is what the Pinnacle is all about, and they are on top of the world. Car honks very much.
Very 4 Horsemen stuff going on here.
MJF complains and says it's about the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle coming with the buggy. And MJF says he already said they aren't interested in rematch, and Santana and Jericho won't be back. And Jericho literally comes out of like the trailer thingy.
And what did I say as soon as the vehicle rolled in?
Thingy.
They're going full Austin, didn't I? Yes, I did.
Jericho asks again for a rematch. MJF says no again. Jericho asks for clarification, and MJF shouts no. And Sammy sprays them with bubbly.
Yep.
Because that's a
Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's just not beer.
I would call it a Kurt Angle, actually.
Yeah, that too. With the milk.
MJF tells everyone to shut up and agrees to a match at Double or Nothing, and it will be Stadium Stampede 2. And MJF says if the Inner Circle loses, they break up forever. Not like that just happened.
Right.
And he says take it or leave it. So kind of like a dilemma, I guess. Do they want a match? Do they want to risk it?
Right.
Thoughts.
I thought this was too long and a little bit too silly and cartoonish for me with the truck coming in, but it's fine. I'm sure a lot of people are going to love it. They can create a cool little highlight and a GIF and a meme or whatever you young people are worried about. MJF I thought was awesome to start, but Tully maybe shouldn't follow him. I feel like, because I didn't think what he said seemed necessary. It made it really long. And again, when he's coming right after MJF, it's like, because Tully's hit and miss, right? Like there's been times we thought he's great and other times where we didn't. And I thought this wasn't great. Too long in general. But in the end, we're getting Stadium Stampede, which I'm happy about. The added stipulation at the end by MJF, I feel, telegraphs the finish, which I think kind of sucks.
Yeah, but it at least adds more stakes to it. And I mean, it's possible. The Inner Circle's been running for a while.
I don't think so. I don't like the stakes added where I think it makes the outcome more apparent.
I think there's a slight chance. Maybe.
So I don't know. I liked MJF's part. The rest, whatever.
I thought this was a good promo from MJF, as always. I thought Tully wasn't bad, but following MJF, like you said,
bad idea.
Not the best idea.
Reverse the order, right?
The Inner Circle was fine, and the bubbly spray thing was, I guess, fine, but it did feel a little unnecessary. Telegraph finish aside, I'm really excited for Stadium Stampede 2. I hope we get it. It's not necessarily confirmed yet, but we probably
They wouldn't
will.
mention it if they weren't.
Because I love that match last year. It was so good. So I thought overall it wasn't a bad segment. It was pretty good.
Yep.
Britt Baker interview with JR. Why wouldn't you have Tony? Like, come on. JR reminds us of Baker's last match with Shida, where Baker's nose is broken. I forgot that's where it was. I thought it was in a tag match.
I kind of like that reminder too.
Yeah. And Baker says she's come the best and the baddest since then. Baker said Shida created this monster, and the only way to win would be to kill her. JR tells us of Tony Khan's Forbes shoot, which Baker interrupted, and Shida came in as well, and they were separated. And Baker said that was because she thought the photo should be taken with the current women's champion, which is funny because that implies that she's gonna win.
I love that so much, right? She's basically saying, for the good of the company, when that Forbes comes out, Shida won't be the champion anymore. Right. I will be. So for the good of the company and the accuracy of this, I should be included, which I thought was awesome.
That was really funny. Baker talks about Shida's year-long run, but Baker's the face of the division, and she'll beat Shida at Double or Nothing. She signs off with DMD.
Thought there was a little bit of a mock school of promos there. She went out of her way to put Shida over, which I appreciated in there. I love this. She's incredible. She's one of my favorite things probably in wrestling right now. So confident and comfortable, smart and funny, right? Hard to believe this is the same woman that started in this company, because man, I was not impressed. She's amazing. She did help build this match a little bit with this. She's going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting building it, because Shida isn't really as interesting or captivating as this, right? So I really like this, and I like this idea that Shida breaking Baker's nose was sort of what changed her, and she's been just killing it ever since. So I don't know. This woman is fantastic. I like this a lot.
I agree. I thought this was another great promo. I think she is going to have to carry the build, but that's fine because she's good at it.
And she could never. I don't know if she could ever be a babyface though. She just has this heel character,
right?
Like, perfected.
It's right, and
but who knows?
It just her, and the fact that she has the actual credentials of a dentist is not just a character like freaking Isaac Yankem.
Yep.
It helps. I can't believe I mentioned Isaac Yankem. Next we get a Thunder Rosa versus Jasmine Allure match. Strikes by Thunder Rosa, corner chop by Rosa, shotgun dropkick by Rosa, running senton by Rosa, shoulder breaker, which looked not great.
No.
A finer thunder driver by Rosa, which looked not great, for the win.
It was like, the finish combo wasn't great.
It was the softest shoulder breaker of all time.
It was like if you slowed down a shoulder, we're watching it in slow motion, right? Kind of. This was a darker elevation match just to keep Rosa in our minds, I guess. Nothing of note, really. Right. And the end combo did not look great.
This was even, I think, not good by squash standards, because, the Rosa did basic stuff, and then her finisher didn't look that great.
It did not. And those two moves should look cool together, but they were kind of
So, nothing really to comment on, I guess. Serena Deeb's back, which is good, because I think she had some cool matches.
She did.
She'll be defending the NWA Women's title against Red Velvet next week, which I'm open to it.
Me too.
Young Bucks versus Varsity Blondes for the tag titles next week.
Obviously.
So I think we'll be getting
new tag champs.
Varsity Blondes versus Mox and Kingston at Double or Nothing then.
Yes.
And I think this should main event the pay-per-view, but they're giving it to us on Dynamite. It's a steal.
It's
Anthony Ogogo versus Austin Gunn.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Gut punch pin, I predict.
Right, I wonder if he's gonna win with the gut punch. Double or Nothing advertisements, which is Page versus Cage. Omega, Cassidy, Pac. Just stuff that they've confirmed, because they haven't mentioned Bucks and Mox and Kingston or Stadium Stampede, because those are they're going to be confirmed, I think, just not they're not technically confirmed yet.
That's right.
Jade Cargill gets interviewed, and we're shown Mark Sterling's pitch to Cargill.
I actually watched most of Elevation and saw that.
Cargill says she handles her own business. She says she's listening to the offers, but she's her own boss because she's that bitch.
So this was similar again, third week in a row.
I'm kind of, not because I'm not the biggest fan, but just because it's very repetitive, so I'm kind of getting annoyed. I need something else here.
And the whole premise that she doesn't want a manager and she handles her own business.
So why does she keep
but
getting
we're
asked
spending
about
weeks of her listening to managers' pitches, right? So I don't.
Right.
I feel like there's better options for her. I think she's doing a fine job of delivering this, but I don't understand why.
I feel like it's just too much of the same thing.
I don't understand why this is what they're going with. I don't think she's bad, but I'm losing interest.
So Darby Allin gets a vignette. He says he doesn't have time to think about his condition after the stair fall. He goes to his childhood home. He says he likes coming to it because it reminds him of where he's come from and how far he's come. Darby asked what Miro has done so far other than play video games.
Ooh.
Darby says he doesn't believe Miro has truly been unleashed, and he says he knows who he is, and Miro won't take the title from him. Okay. Darby versus Miro for the TNT Championship is our main event.
Did you like that segment?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
It was good. Usually we don't love Darby speaking, but it was better here because no Sting. Although Sting's accompanying to the ring, of course. But I don't know, this was good.
It's like you're sharing my notes I had. I like this. I sometimes don't find him believable speaking, but he did a good job here. And there's always cool imagery and stuff in all of his videos.
Right, I think
and stuff.
there is, as long as they kind of keep with the original thing they did with his vignettes and maybe add some speaking with it now. I think it'll still be good.
And I think for guys that aren't the best promo, because I don't think he is, sometimes having those visuals to sort of distract us, for lack of a better term, rather than him just standing at the ring and talking, right? There's stuff going on to sort of take away. So I thought this was good. Right. I liked it. And
Darby's got some new paint, not just a design, but new style of paint. It's kind of like Dustin Rhodes has worn it a couple times, where it's kind of all around his mouth area and goes
bottom half of his face.
Bottom half of his face. And usually Darby has it on all of one side of his face. So it goes on both sides of his face, but only all around the mouth area. And also has some pretty cool body paint just on his upper chest.
Yes.
Skeleton I thought he looked really cool.
Yep, he does. Always
Miro attacks early and ragdolls Darby.
Does he ever?
Corner punches and stomps by Miro. And Darby gets sent hard into the middle rope, which they do remind us these are actually steel cables, right? So Beal on the outside by Miro, which I thought was cool just because you're chucking him, but then he's landing on these hard mats.
Yes, and this is what we thought. Miro was just going to throw this kid around because he doesn't care.
Yeah, Darby's into the barricade and over the barricade, and they actually pointed out Miro's got the TNT faceplate, the emblem on his trunks.
Yes,
which I thought was a nice touch, and I didn't even notice that. So that was
spoiler
really cool.
though, putting it on there.
I guess. Although not. I know what you mean, but not always.
Yeah. No, of course not. It's just in his own mind, he's definitely gonna win.
Dolph Ziggler, I remember because they even made a figure of it. Dolph Ziggler did that, and he lost. Did Rick Rude win when he won those titles? I think he did.
Ooh, I think he did too. One of my favorites, I should remember.
Yeah.
He made Warrior look good. That's a feather in his cap, man. For sure.
Anyways, back on track. Miro throws Darby back over the barricade, and Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky are up in the crowd laughing, which I thought was kind of a nice touch.
Yeah, they got a cool vibe going, those two.
Yeah, I like them.
Me too.
They work. I would like them as tag champions one day.
Yeah, I could see that.
Honestly. Or I wish there was I honestly wonder if AEW would be able to sustain second tag belts. I honestly maybe if they had another show, I feel like they definitely could.
If they get that third hour somewhere.
Right. Anyway, where was I? Punches by Miro, and the match actually starts.
Yeah. This was all before the. Yeah, I kind of like that choice.
No, I did, and the match got kicked right away, which I almost thought was he's taking a bunch of punishment, and he got thrown down the stairs last week. Is this gonna be it? So I thought that was a really good near fall. A running shotgun dropkick on the outside by Darby. Of course, Miro's still standing, although it's not a cross. This feels earned because Darby is 1, beaten up very bad and tired, and 2, Miro is
a monster.
Good.
Yep.
Miro catches the pop over center attempt, but Darby gets out, shoves Miro into the ring post, kind of face, shoulder first, and Miro's just got a bunch of paint smudges all over him, which I thought was really funny. I even wrote a note. So many paint smudges on Merp.
On
I
Merp?
accidentally
He did have a bunch on his chest and stuff.
I
Yeah.
accidentally wrote Merp. A cannonball suicide dive by Darby. I like to think of it as like coffin kind of suicide dive because he can kind of like try to hits him with his back.
Right.
Cannot speak. Miro catches a coffin drop to the outside and hits a German suplex on the outside. Sky and Paige attack Sting during the commercial break apparently, which makes my heart happy. Gut wrench slam by Miro and a bear hug is applied. Gator roll, which is like where he has him in like the rear waist lock and kind of like rolls.
Yes.
That's where you get the roll part. I don't know why it's called Gator though. And Darby uses that though to get to the ropes. But he's pulled off of the ropes. Darby gets out and applies a sleeper, and Miro falls into a rope break, which I thought was pretty cool. Darby attacks Miro on the outside and reapplies a sleeper, and Miro gets up by ramming Darby into that stage wall, kind of, which I think is a really cool thing when they get slammed into, because like it's a taller kind of barricade-like surface, but it's like sturdier.
Seems
so it's
more
like,
rigid, yeah.
Right, it's like just like a thick wall that they can get sent into.
Without much give to it.
Right, yeah. Because like the barricade, the barricade that AEW uses, it's like your regular steel barricade, so it like always like goes bends.
And in
back
NXT, I find the plexiglass seems to have a lot of give to it too.
And like WWE, what I mean is like they have like their barricade that's like, I don't know if it's like bolted to the ground or whatever, but it's like their barricade's different. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So Miro attacks Darby's arm and rips off his medical tape or whatever he's got
the kin
on.
tape stuff.
A slam into the ropes by Miro, chop block and a pop over stunner by Darby, a small package by Darby for 2, another stunner by Darby. Miro catches a coffin drop, but Darby flips out of a German suplex attempt, and a code red for a near fall by Darby. And Miro cinches in like a really deep accolade to the point where Miro's like lying on his back, applying it. Like it looked painful, looked really good, I thought. For the win, and Miro is actually indeed the new TNT champion.
He is.
And Sting fights off Sky and Paige and is saved by the Dark Order, and Lance Archer comes out for God knows why.
Of course he does, because whatever Sting is there,
God,
he
it's
comes
like,
out.
Sting, are you okay?
Yeah. I thought this was a good main event match. I liked the choice of having Miro destroy Allen before the match even started. There was a bit of a lull, I found. There was like a lot of bear hugging and a sleeper segments close together, so that was sort of where the lull was. But it kicked back up again, leading to the finish. And I mean, Darby had a great run with a lot of defenses. It's not like with this title you don't have to hold it a ton of time, but he had like 9 or 10 defenses along the line. I
think Cody held it maybe the longest in his first run. Like even then, it's not like super long, but they managed to get like a bunch of defenses, so it feels better. Like even Balor in his NXT title run, he didn't even hold it for like a full year, but it felt long. So he like defended a bunch and like had good matches. So I think. And that's another thing that AEW's done really well that helps build their titles is like really good matches.
Yeah, the TNT one, you're defending it a lot. I do like the title going to Miro here.
And I enjoyed the title, as like a pseudo TV title. Because that's basically what it is, because literally the title's named after the network, right? So.
Yep, it should be. Miro should get a decent run with this.
I agree.
And it looks like maybe a babyface Archer next in line.
Which is weird, because he was face kind of like against Kingston, aligning with the Death Triangle.
Yeah.
And then he was like back to heel after that, and we're like, yay, and then Sting complimented him, and then we reverted back to babyface Archer.
Maybe it's him, and that would be a Haas fight, at least, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think Archer's at his best when he's a babyface.
When he hasn't had a match in forever, so does he really deserve a title shot?
Yeah.
Anyways, what did you think of this match?
I thought it was a good match. Good main event. Good for Miro winning the title. And this should go better, I would hope, than his WWE title runs. His pre-match attack actually had some pretty good offense.
It did.
And then that kind of helped the match as well, which was also good in and of itself. It was what you'd expect with Miro beating down Darby for most of the match until he mounts a comeback. But it was still good, and Miro actually was able to pull out the win. I thought the accolade he used, he really wrenched back on it. Looked like actually effective. Like, I don't know how you wouldn't tap for that. Like, I wouldn't blame Darby.
And Darby doesn't look super weak because he was thrown down a flight of stairs last week, and he's still selling
like a bunch before the match. And, And
so,
like I said, Miro wrenched back like
I don't think it hurts Darby because he's still a star for this
Overall,
company.
I think a stellar main event. And I hope this is the start of good things for Miro.
Yeah,
I thought he looked really good here.
They've turned him around for sure.
Thoughts on the show?
I thought this was a pretty fun show. The opener of the main event were good. The tag title match I thought was match of the night, was excellent. Cody's segment was absolutely awful. And like I said, I would have changed the channel if I weren't committed to this review. The Inner Circle Pinnacle segment was too long and a little bit silly. Britt Baker was amazing. I'd say for me, this was a B+ show. I enjoyed it a lot, but there was enough I didn't care for just to keep it out of that A range. But other than that, another quality show, I thought. What about you?
Well, I think we were pretty close. So the opener was, I think, as good as it could have been with the 53-year-old Yuji Nagata.
That's fair.
And it was hard hitting and a good opener. I was impressed, because he's at 53. I don't think you would want to do that, or I would want to do
nope,
that.
I won't
So
be.
I think he did pretty good.
Yep.
Cody Rhodes' promo was bad. He went on about American patriotism and old wrestling stuff, and I got bored. And he just babbled on and on to the point where I didn't really understand what was.
You kind of stopped taking notes. You were like, I don't know how this has anything to do with anything.
I know. I just, when he was blabbling on about patriotism, I was like, what? And then, he was going on about, some old wrestling thing, and I'm just like,
yep.
Huh? And so it was also to set up a match I don't want to see ever.
Put it down on our
Cody
worst of the year
Ogogo
stuff.
Oh no, it will be. I'm
nice.
sure.
Don't let me forget.
The Bucks and SU, although helped this show a ton,
it was awesome.
Brought it back up a ton in my opinion. It was a great way for SU to go out. Almost maybe should have been the main event just because such higher stakes. But whatever. I think that and the TNT title could be interchangeable for the main event. Honestly. Cage's interview wasn't great. Christian Cage, that is. It was just there. Pac versus Cassie was good, and given the situation, I can understand why they maybe had to cut it short and also change the finish a bit. And it could have been better, I think, if Cassie hadn't been knocked out. But given that he was, I can understand why they had to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And honestly, a triple threat match I'm quite interested in. Super Elite promo was fine, and the Bucks versus Mox and Kingston should be pretty good once we get that confirmed. Hangman cut a good promo as always, and it was pretty humorous, as he had the Dark Order with him, who I enjoy.
Yep.
His rematch with Cage should be really good, I think. The Pinnacle coronation was good from a promo standpoint, at least for MJF mostly,
right.
And then Tully wasn't bad, just not as good as MJF.
No, he wasn't horrible.
And I could have done without the horse spray thing. The hose spray.
The horse spray? Like what? We sprayed horses?
And I am pumped for the Stadium Stampede too, though. I think we could have set it up a little better, though. Britt Baker's interview was great stuff as always, and Thunder Rosa's squash match was just okay. Funny to see how both of them are turning out after that match.
You're right.
Even though Rosa won.
Doesn't matter. Didn't happen.
That's true. But I'm just talking momentum-wise.
Right.
Darby Allin and Miro had a great main event, I think, and Miro deserves the win. I hope he has a good title run. Double or Nothing's pretty soon. It's looking pretty good so far. We got Shida Baker, Omega, Pat, Cassie, and a Go versus Cody confirmed. The last one does not look good, actually. And then we got Stadium Stampede, and Bucks versus Mox and Kingston sure take place on the card. Also, Page and Cage confirmed. So that's looking good so far. Overall, a good show. I think I liked it a little better because I gave it an A-. Nice.
Because
I think there's a lot of good stuff. On the show, especially from an in-ring standpoint, and segments were good too, other than Cody and the Thunder Rosa match was the only things I really didn't like.
Yeah.
So overall, I think it was really good.
Great. All right, that wraps up our AEW and takes us into our next segment, which will be looking at any other wrestling business.
So, how are we gonna do this?
I'll do Impact, I guess, first. Give you a break, and then do your match, and then we'll go see where we go from there.
We got our 2 prediction thingies.
Yeah, we're going to give you a couple previews and predictions of a couple pay-per-views that are coming up this weekend. I just need to find my notes for Impact Wrestling. There they are. So I just wanted to start out by saying that I was looking forward to watching Impact this week and lately. It's not always been the case, right? Sometimes it feels like a bit of a chore, but credit to them because I haven't mind sitting down to watch this the last few weeks. So this week's show starts with a recap of the Gallows Juice Robinson match and the aftermatch, as well as the 6-way qualifying results, including Moose and Trey advancing into that 6-way qualifier, 6-way match for the number 1 contendership. The show starts with Rosemary.
Oh, wait, wasn't there also Sabin who advanced, I think?
Yes, I think so at that point. Rosemary with Decay versus Havoc for the number 1 contendership for the Knockouts Championship. So the winner of this will face Deonna Purrazzo at Under Siege in 2 nights from when this was done, I guess. When it aired. So they both scream at each other and take turns hitting forearms to start. The story early on is that neither woman can really gain an advantage. There's a backbreaker into a flatliner into the corner by Havoc to take advantage finally. Camel clutch by Havoc. She stays in control. Back elbow and a choke with her legs over the ropes. Then a missile drop kick by Rosemary to shift the momentum to her. A really weak looking exploder by Rosemary. Havoc's just simply too big for her. I think it was a bit of an ambitious attempt. Spear by Rosemary. Havoc powers out of a Rosemary hold. Hits a pile driver for the win in just about 6 minutes. Deonna tries to attack Havoc after the match, but Havoc gets the better of her, so Purrazzo just escapes the ring. Rosemary throws Purrazzo back in. Havoc hits Purrazzo with the tombstone piledriver and stands tall, heading into their match. This actually was a decent opening match. Each woman got a chance to showcase some offense. It was short. My main issue is that neither of these women have been booked in such a way that you would ever believe they're going to actually defeat Deonna Purrazzo. It's not a major pay-per-view either, so I can't imagine she's going to lose her title. Havoc could be built.
They're probably going to go to Taylor Wilde.
Oh my goodness.
After.
Probably. Havoc could be built into a threat, I think, in time. This just kind of happened kind of out of nowhere and too quickly to be believable, but the match itself was a decent little 6-minute match. Commentary then hype up Under Siege and inform us that the 6 competitors in the 6-way match at Under Siege will face off on this episode of Impact in a 6-man tag team match. We then have the Good Brothers with Omega wearing his 3 belts, one on top of the other.
It looks
really
quite
funny. They're like basically goes from his waist up to his armpits. Right.
I don't know why he chooses to have the TNA belt when he could have the AAA belt, but I think it might be because
it's on their program, so.
Right? And AEW works with AAA.
Right.
I'm pretty sure, 'cause I remember Box and Lucha Bros faced off at the first few pay-per-views for the AAA tag belts, and Omega even defended the Mega title against Sammy Guevara once. I think that might be part of it, and yes, the TNA belt is one of their belts, but I would hope that they can somehow get the AAA title on there, because I think that really cements it as he's the triple world champion, because right now he's just technically the Impact and TNA belts are one belt together.
So they're backstage talking to Gia. Anderson says that Gallows beat Juice last week and that he'll beat Finlay this week. Omega is critical of the Good Brothers for losing their titles and sort of implies the only reason they're back on track is because Omega has started coming to the ring with them as their coach, and maybe implies isn't even a strong enough word. He pretty much says it. Omega lectures Gia about not being ready to too sweet with them, because I think she was trying to get in on their whatever, and then they leave. I almost like this segment just because it's refreshing to see the Good Brothers playing like second fiddle and not being the confident, arrogant jerks and sort of having to defer to Omega. I'm interested in the Good Brother Omega dynamic. It seems we're back to this, like, their relationship's strained because the Good Brothers don't have the titles anymore, which I kind of like, because Omega's that kind of jerk,
I wish they would play that up on
Me too.
AEW.
Because he wants to surround himself with the best, and they're not it.
I think because AEW, would also be able to do a really good job with that if they were allowed to.
They just don't seem to care about any Impact storylines so much.
I don't know if I can really blame them.
No, I don't either. We then get a 6-way match for the #1 contendership to the X Division Championship. It is Petey Williams versus Ace Austin versus, ready? AC Romero.
Yeah.
Versus TJP versus Rohit versus El Phantasmo making a second appearance. So all 5 of the other competitors attack AC Romero to start because he's about as big as all 5 of them combined. So they're trying to take out the big man first. Austin, Williams, and Rohit end up being left in the ring to start, and they showcase their speed flying around the ring. Romero eventually takes out all 3 of them, pulls them out of the ring, and takes them out on the floor. A power bomb to Williams. I think it was maybe on the ring apron. We then get El Phantasmo. He's got TJP in a knuckle lock, and I told you this. He walks around the ring almost the entire way on the top rope, sort of taking people out along the way as he does it. Austin meets ELP is what they sort of call him, so I put that in my notes, El Phantasmo.
Probably easier for you because you love...
Easier to type, that's for sure.
Yeah, you love that.
El Phantasmo puts him in a fireman's carry and jumps onto a crowd on the floor, which looked kind of cool, even though it was the huddled group below, but it was still just fireman's carry and then almost like a DVD, I guess, onto a crowd of people. TJP and Williams end up alone in the ring, and TJP in control, but Rohit attacks with boots and a cannonball. AC then comes in, takes out Rohit, and Austin has to break up a pinfall attempt. Petey Williams gets his chance. He hits a destroyer on El Phantasmo, actually, and TJP has to break up the pin.
He uses a Canadian destroyer.
Yep, we get a Fosbury flop to Romero by Ace Austin at one point. TJP misses a Mamba splash. El Phantasmo flies in with a splash of his own for a 2 count, which was kind of cool. El Phantasmo then hits a modified Styles Clash and pins TJP for the win.
When you say modified Styles Clash, what do you mean?
He's kind of got the arms trapped a little bit differently, if I remember correctly. I'd have to see it again, to be honest. Not surprised by the outcome. I figured once I saw who was in it, like who makes the most sense, right? And him and Josh Alexander could be fantastic.
Phantasmo.
It's one of the matches I'm actually looking forward to most on that card for sure. So I thought this was a fun match. It suffered a little bit from, that multi-man where it's like, okay, you two go at it while we wait. Now you three and we'll wait sort of thing.
Right.
That was definitely happening. I figured this would be the result. I'm fine with it. Predictable isn't always bad. We say it sometimes on this show. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it isn't. That match,
I think that can kind of vary from company to company.
for sure. That match should be awesome. So if they give them the time, so I'm looking forward to it. Scott D'Amore is in his office talking to Kimberly and Susan. Susan is doing her sort of Karen thing, and she shows D'Amore of the video of Tenille cheating. From her previous match. Susan wants a match with Lee versus Tenille, Dashwood, and Taylor Wilde, but Kimberly does not seem like she's on board with this as she's sort of sitting beside them, kind of surprised by this suggestion. D'Amore offers to have the match next week. Susan says no. He suggests that Under Siege instead, and Susan says she will tolerate it. Susan leaves, touting her team like Team Justice, as you can hear Kimberly complaining to her that they never talked about this before. So this was a fine little segment. Sets up a match for the pay-per-view. Not one that interests me at all, but a match nonetheless. Flashback match that I never talk about was Gail Kim and Havoc. I don't really watch them, so I don't really report on them. If you want to see an old match on TNA, go ahead. You can find it. We then get a Violent by Design video.
Oh, speaking of, we watched like a random Lethal Lockdown on
we did,
Thursday or whatever.
just for something to do.
Yeah, 2010.
Violent by Design video. Eric Young speaks about their will not being broken. Their spirit is not shattered. Failure will not be tolerated, although it seems like they get a lot of failure to tolerate in their little group so far. But anyways, and will be crushed. Has he created this problem or one of the other members? The sickness is embedded and has infected everyone, Jackson. He's starting a new, better, more violent plan, which is probably smart because whatever their plans have been up to now have not been working. The only guarantee in life is change, he tells us. It's the only thing he can trust. We'll be seeing a whole lot of Violent by Design. So again, cool segment, cool videos as they always are. But clearly they do tolerate failure because this group fails all the time and they're still intact.
Right.
It's starting to become a bit of an issue. It's a cool concept and Eric Young's promos are always good, but the group never really accomplishes anything. It's starting to get annoying. They talk tough, never really back. It's kind of like Team Taz syndrome, right? Like they just, although we did get a big win for Brian Cage. So,
yeah.
But that's what it is, right? They talk, but then lose. So hopefully they get some sort of win somewhere along the line. We then get an Under Siege promo focusing on the 6-way match before we transition into everybody's favorite segment, Swingers Palace. Hey.
Yeah.
Swinger starts out hitting on Alicia a little bit. She tells him she's married, seems to be a recurring thing. She gets hit on and tells people she's married. TJP
I don't know
shows
why
up.
you'd hit on her, but okay.
TJP shows up and wants the odds on the tag title because if you don't know, Swinger also takes bets on various matches and things in his casino. So Austin and Fulton then show up. They claim they should be the number one contender. Triple XL come in and they claim that they should also be number one. Then Rohit and Shera. You can see a trend here. TJP.
Oh, that's why this match is happening.
Yes.
Okay.
TJP says he'll win if he finds the right partner, and Petey Williams arrives, and I guess he'll be the partner for TJP. TJP then asks about odds, and Williams leaves, and he's basically like, well, I don't know much about odds, but I know somebody who does. And he comes back with his Steiner gear on again and gets ready to do another Steiner math promo, but everybody else leaves before he can do it. So these segments seem to have, like the Swingers Palace, I guess, have evolved into like a little bit of comedy, and then they sort of use it to promote a division, right? Because last week it was X Division, this week it's the Tag Division. So it's still not great, but it's way better than Impact just trying to lean into total comedy on these Swingers Palace segments. So if this is how they're being used, it bothers me less. It lets us know who's in the tag division, I guess. It wasn't super painful, so I will accept it as a Swingers Palace segment because I've hated some, so this one wasn't that bad. Sam Beal is still kicking around, so he's going to face Willie Mack in the next match. Willie Mack starts out fast with his slam standing moonsault thing that always just looks crazy. A man of that size and fitness, at least appeared fitness, hits that. Beal gets a bit of offense then with a back elbow, some corner spears, boot forearms, and a headbutt by Beal, knees to the midsection by Beal, and then a big running clothesline by Mack, a nice pop-up forearm, and his big top rope splash that actually looked really good here. Mack picks up the win. Of course, good old Morrissey comes in, attacks Mack after the match, hits his running boot, and stands over Mack to end the segment. It was almost a squash match. I guess I'd call it an enhancement match. Beal got in a little more offense than he has in the past. And I mean, he doesn't look bad. He doesn't look that exciting either yet, but he's young and inexperienced, so who knows. Still just really an enhancement match. Gia then talks to Finlay about his match with Anderson. Finlay says the Good Brothers no, they can't beat Finjuice on their best day. Tonight, it's about beating Anderson and proving again that he is better. He is the better wrestler. Juice says they have Eddie Edwards tonight to balance the numbers. Yay. Eddie says that Kenny has been the difference, but tonight they'll have a Kenny of their own. Do you know who it is?
Uh-huh.
Who?
Kendo stick.
His kendo stick with a face drawn on it.
Can't believe I remember that.
So this was fine. Pretty generic babyface promo. Finjuice have not impressed me on the mic, even though I think Juice looks like he should be interesting, but anyways.
Right.
We get a somewhat cryptic promo for Slammiversary, sort of implying that there will be wrestlers from all over the world. This is the one where they try to have like surprise appearances,
right,
I think.
This is like they did this last year, I remember.
Yeah, they did. So it looks like more of this similar idea. We then move into the All About Me segment with Tenille Dashwood.
I heard this and it's like, I'm your guest, Tenille Dashwood.
So I enjoyed the first installment of this. So this is the second one. And she basically touts it as, this is where one lucky person gets the chance of a lifetime, an opportunity to interview Tenille. So the idea is she is always the guest and whoever is the guest will be the host, if that makes sense to you. So Taylor Wilde interrupts and Tenille says she can...
You have a guest host.
She can adjust, and she announces Taylor Wilde as this week's host. Tenille thinks that Taylor is there about the two of them teaming at Under Siege, but Wilde is there because she found out that Tenille cheated to help her win last week, because Taylor Wilde didn't notice the cheating, but I guess she's since seen it and wants to talk to Tenille about it. And she says that's not how she rolls. Tenille says that Wilde should have FaceTimed her about it, and Wilde says she doesn't have Dashwood's number because they're not friends. Wilde will team with her, but only to get closer to the Knockouts title, and they are not friends or a team. Tenille is critical of Wilde as a host, as she is not asking any questions. And then it was basically over, and I kind of like this again. It's this idea that Tenille is so self-absorbed that she doesn't really listen to anyone other than Caleb because he only tells her what she wants to hear the whole time. She just hears whatever she wants to hear from everybody else and just disregards them, right? So I'm kind of enjoying this. She literally just doesn't listen to anybody at what they're saying and just hears what she wants. Taylor Wilde wasn't great here. I'm not really sure at this point why Impact was so excited to get her, because in any arena, like in-ring, outer ring, I haven't seen much from her, but Tenille is growing on me, and these segments are kind of funny. She could almost have like a Britt Baker kind of vibe to her, depending on how they want to go with this, you know what I mean? But it's getting better. We then get Carl Anderson with Gallows, Omega, and Callis versus David Finlay, with Juice Robinson and Eddie Edwards and Kenny the Kendo Stick. And I told you, I thought this could be a good match. I was kind of looking forward to seeing this, right? Well, that's
looking forward to.
I should have known. And Edwards' involvement seems just kind of tacked on and forced to me. I guess he just needed something to do and they needed backup, so they threw them together. I don't know. We get an eye rake by Carl Anderson right away to get control of the match. Forearms uppercuts by Finlay, who gets tripped by Omega from ringside, of course. Later, after some basic exchanges, Finlay is attacked outside while the ref is distracted. Lots of kicks and punches and forearms from both men, then a headlock by Carl Anderson. Another headlock countered with a belly-to-back suplex by Finlay, which is about as much of a wrestling move as we're going to get in this barn burner. A slingshot to the floor onto the heels by Finlay. Back inside, a Uranagi backbreaker for a 2 count. Modified Indian deathlock by Finlay, and Omega simply just comes into the ring and attacks Finlay, so the DQ win for David Finlay in this match. Eddie Edwards comes in and clears the ring with his kendo stick, and his awful music plays to end the segment. Very much a disappointing waste of time, in my opinion.
Really? I was under the impression that
You
you
loved
loved
it? This could have been a good match. I was looking forward to it. But instead, it was almost entirely super basic, as I say, punchy, kicky match with constant
Punchy,
interference
kicky.
and a no finish. So
Reminds me of the thing Barry does in the Goldberg. Punchy, punchy, kick.
strongly dislike this match. Sabin is backstage, feels bad about not being there for Storm in his match last week, but Storm wanted it that way. Moose didn't need to take out Storm's leg. He did with the chair, if you remember after that. And Sabin will get his revenge in the 6-man tag match tonight. I thought for a Sabin talking segment, this wasn't bad, which still means it wasn't very good, but he never sounds comfortable talking, in my opinion. But it sets up a story for this match, I guess. Jordan Grace lost to Tasha Steelz on Before the Impact, we're told, and Jordan talks about it
Because
with
that's
a thing.
Like, that's a career-ending loss.
They're talking to, so Rachel Ellering is consoling her, I guess. Grace is disappointed in her loss, but Ellering talks her down, and they'll take Grace's anger out on Fire and Flava at the pay-per-view. I thought Ellering sounded kind of like the mother of a toddler consoling Grace here. It was weird. She's putting on this like mom voice kind of thing. But anyways, it was fine, I guess. Next, we get Brian Myers versus Crazy Steve, accompanied by Decay, obviously. And Crazy Steve bites Brian Myers' hand right away to start. Myers escapes Steve to the outside, backs into Black Taurus. So this was kind of funny. Myers sells it like Taurus attacked him and falls over. He just like barely bumped into him. And the ref sends Taurus to the back. So a pretty clever heel move by Myers there, I thought. Myers drop kicks Steve off the apron to gain control. We get a nice vertical suplex by Myers for a 2 count. Sudden roll up while grabbing the ropes, and Myers wins by cheating. He celebrates as Taurus appears behind him and spears him right as he turns around. Rosemary places a tarot card, I think the commentary team tells us it's the card of death, on Myers' chest as Decay stand tall. Kind of another waste of a matchup. I thought these guys are capable of more than this. Like, I know Crazy Steve's never going to be booked really strong, but he's capable of having good matches, I think. I guess the point was to further Taurus Myers angle, obviously, as they're having the match at the pay-per-view, so whatever, it's fine. Gia then talks to Don Callis backstage. Callis reacts to what happened earlier by saying that this is what happens when the inmates run the asylum and that wrestlers are like animals and they need to be corralled. Scott D'Amore approaches. He suggests that if Callis did his job as the EVP and used his phone for more than talking to his friends, that maybe this would not be happening. Callis says that he doesn't interact with the talent because he has nothing in common with them. D'Amore tells Callis that Callis messing with Moose, which Callis quickly calls mentoring, right? Because he doesn't want to be accused of, he's a little bit afraid of Moose. That sort of messing with Moose has led to Moose taking out Storm, and now Storm is gone with an injury. Callis is just trying to light a fire under Moose, he said, but D'Amore cuts him off and calls him a carny, wants him to decide between managing Omega and doing his EVP job. Callis says they should talk more and do Zoom calls, since together they are the golden bookers. He's trying to suck up to get out of this now. D'Amore says they're not even in the same book, and he walks away. Ooh. I actually did like this. Callis was sort of toned down here, but still amusing, and D'Amore plays well off of him and is doing really good job as a face authority figure, which is not an easy thing to do.
I think it works better when, because like I think for a while Callis wasn't around that much.
Yes, this allows like to have Callis to be a heel sort of authority figure,
Right.
even though he doesn't. And that's the thing, I guess, is he's not focused on the company at large. He's just worried about his guys, right? So, and that's what Callis is saying. So I thought this was reasonable. We then get the main event, which is the 6-man tag match. So these are the competitors in the 6-way match for the number 1 contender, broken into a heel and babyface team. So on the heel team,
if there's a big match at a pay-per-view with a bunch of people, if there's not a tag match with all of them
gotta have
up to it, I don't want it.
Gotta have them somehow preview it, right?
There's not a big tag match, I don't want it.
So our heels are Moose, Sami Callihan, and the amazing Chris Bay versus the baby faces of Matt Cardona, Trey Miguel, and Chris Sabin. Sabin and Sami start the match. We get a drop kick by Sabin, and Cardona comes in with a clothesline. Bay comes in for the heels as the Good Brothers and Callis are shown watching on a TV somewhere backstage. Backdrop by Cardona, and Trey is in. He leaps over Cardona to land a senton to Bay. Quickness by both of these guys. A submission by Trey that forces Bay to escape the ring. Bay hits a clothesline after Moose stops Trey with a boot while the ref isn't looking. Moose is in. He manhandles Trey and taunts Trey's teammates. Sami is in. He continues the beat down at Trey, which was a bit of a theme here. Bay takes his turn beating on Trey. Moose is back in with a one-handed body slam to Trey, then another body slam. Boot choke in the ropes by Moose. Double clothesline, and Trey and Sammy are both down. Trey makes the hot tag to Cardona. He cleans house, hits a missile drop kick to Bay. Broski boot and a missile drop kick by Sabin. Right. Sabin, who tags in. Trey leaps over the ropes but gets caught in sort of like a powerbomb grip by Moose. But Trey counters that powerbomb grip into Hurricane Rana into the ring post for Moose. Bay hits a rolling forearm to Sabin. Sammy attempts his pile driver, but Sabin counters with a dragon screw. Bay hits a spine buster, but then eats a radio silence before eating a boot from Moose and a missile dropkick from Trey to Moose in succession. Trey gets Hurricane Rana countered into a Death Valley driver by Sammy. Sabin's in, takes the package pile driver from Sammy, and the heels win. The heels gather in the ring and look as though they don't fully trust each other, though. The final image for the show is Don Callis looking pensive as he watches this on a TV screen backstage. I thought this was a kind of a strange main event because you had a multi-man match where really for the baby faces, it was Trey, like 60-75% of this match just being dominated by the heels. Most of this didn't feel like a multi-man match. The offense to beat down Trey was pretty standard and unspectacular. And then the final 3 minutes were just like a crazy sprint by all 6 of them. And it kind of did save this match, to be honest. Turned out to be a pretty fun main event, despite it being a lot of just 3 guys taking turns beating on Trey. The end kind of pulled it out for me. Overall, it was I would call this a watchable, which isn't the greatest endorsement, but a watchable episode of Impact. Anderson Finley match was disappointment. Everything else was at least fine. A couple of the segments and matches were good. Like I enjoyed Tennille's segment again. The main event was pretty fun. The X Division #1 contender was kind of fun. So I would say this was a B show, right? It wasn't bad, but there was nothing super amazing. So then the last thing I would do, Impact related, we're going to run down the Under Siege card and quickly make our predictions, which I feel like we sometimes forget to go back and talk about. So we'll try to do that, all right, going forward. So let's take a look at this and see what you think, buddy.
I think it'll be easier, like, for Backlash, because, like, we'll probably review it, unfortunately, even though it's going to suck.
Yes, we probably will review it. So first match I have on the list, Susan and Kimberly versus Tennille Dashwood and Taylor Wilde.
Dashwood and Wilde, because the other two are literally just Deonna Purrazzo's lackeys.
Nice.
And Taylor Wilde seems to be heading for Purrazzo.
And
she's gonna lose.
I'm gonna take the opposite because I think that they're not gonna have Wilde and Dashwood work out as a team. I just feel like that's where they're going. So that's good. We'll take separate. So Susan and Lee for me. Brian Myers versus Black Taurus.
Black Taurus.
That's what I want, but I'm going to say that since he doesn't get much time and focus, I'm also going to disagree and take Myers, although I really hope it's Black Taurus. Willie Mack versus Morrissey. I'm already writing your answer down. It will be Morrissey, obviously, in this one. I didn't think you were going to take any much chance to take anything else. Impact Tag Team Championship #1 contenders match. Ready? TJ and PD Williams, Rohit and Shera, Triple XL, Austin and Madman Fulton.
Gonna go Austin Fulton because I feel like there's a chance it would be TJP and Williams, but Finn Juice are babyface, right? So
they are,
and Austin and Fulton are
although
not.
They have a match too, but I'm gonna mention next.
True.
So you're saying Austin Fulton? I think that was where I was going to go too. I'm just going to see if I could talk myself into anything else. No, I'm going to agree with you on this one. Partly because I want to, and partly because I don't really have a sense of where it's going. So,
well, I don't think it's going to be Triple XL or Shera and Rohit.
I think that's fair. And I don't know. They just made a tag team out of thin air, right? So
yeah, TJP and Williams. Did.
Oh, so sorry, there isn't a tag match. It's a 3. I forgot it was a 6-person. So Omega, Good Brothers, Eddie Edwards, and Finn Juice.
Omega and Good Brothers.
Me too.
Because Omega.
That's kind of my reason. Although I could see them like furthering this. The Good Brothers.
The Good Brothers take the fall. Yeah, I could.
And
see
Omega
that.
Perceives them as being the issue somehow further.
Yeah,
but
that's possible.
I will agree with you, just because of Omega. Knockouts Championship match: Deonna Purrazzo versus Havoc. I'll write your answer now.
I don't know, actually. Yeah, I'm going to take
2
Purrazzo.
R's, 2 Z's.
DEONNAPURRA.
So we will both take Deonna Purrazzo.
See, I did the
Jeff
Jeff Jarrett thing.
Fairly confident in that one. Impact Wrestling X Division Championship: Josh Alexander versus El Fantasmo?
Alexander, because he's one of their guys and he just won it, basically.
That is exactly my reason for picking the same thing, and coupled with the fact that I don't know how long El Fantasmo's around for. So I'll take Alexander as well. That might be the match of the night for me, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Impact Wrestling Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering versus Fire and Flava.
See, I don't love Rachel Ellering, so I don't want them to win, but I think they will win. So.
All right, Rachel Ellering.
And person face.
And Jordan Grace. I kind of think you're right, but for the sake of this, and I'm not sure, I'll take Fire and Flava. I
hope you're right.
I just think maybe they're honestly the only tag team there are that's a real tag team that I consider an actual tag team. So maybe they'll give them another run and do a better job this time would be nice. So the final match, the World Championship #1 contenders match. Cardona, Bay, Sabin, Sammy Callahan, Moose, Trey Miguel.
I'm going to say Trey Miguel because he's probably he's a babyface. From just when I hear you talking about
he is.
He's been built kind of lately, and I think they're going to do the Page scenario where I think they're going to hold off on Moose for a bit because I think he'll probably be the one, but I don't think yet.
I almost completely agree with you. Trey was my choice as well. I'm not going to change it just because you picked him, so I will pick him as well. I think what you said is right. One, I think they want to do it as a test to see if Trey's like main event caliber, right?
And he's one of their top baby faces right now.
He and Kenny, as much as I sort of don't love Trey Miguel sometimes, they'll probably have a pretty amazing match. He's a baby face, right? Which helps. So I don't think it's going to be Cardona. Bay's a heel. Sabin, no. Sammy's a heel. Moose is a heel, and I think you're right that it's not quite time yet. So I'm going to take Trey Miguel as well. All right, so that will bring us...
You're making a good prediction on something I don't watch.
Did you want to do your review match? Or
yeah, I'll do my match.
All right, let's do it.
And previewing a poopy poop.
Right, a pay-per-view preview and our review match. So the review match this week, buddy?
Pro Wrestling Rewind number 12, which is Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz. And yes, they have had a million matches. Why do you ask? The Intercontinental title versus career match from No Mercy 2016. I think this is one of their best matches.
Yeah, one of my first points was I had forgotten that Morrow was in WWE in 2016. To me, it seems like 5 years ago he wasn't there. You know what I mean?
No,
so I was like, what?
I think he started on SmackDown, and then JBL was a meanie stink.
Right.
And then he was on NXT until he left because... Yeah.
It just seems, I don't know, I guess time flies, but 5 years ago, I would have guessed, like, okay, that was 3 years ago, and then, you know what I mean? But anyways, that was my first surprise.
Leaping Lariat by Ziggler for one, back and forth, and a dropkick by Ziggler. Ziggler clotheslines Miz over the top rope, goes over as well. A dropkick by Ziggler for a 1 count.
His drop kicks are nice, man.
Yeah. A hammer thrown to the corner by Miz for 2. Miz chokes Ziggler on the middle rope, and hits, like, I don't know if you consider it a leg drop. I think that's what it's called, but like a running leg attack thingy.
Yes. Leg attack thingy. That's the technical term.
Ziggler gets out of a hold, but Miz hits a clothesline, a running boot by Miz for 2, and a decapitator under the bottom rope afterwards. Ziggler gets out of a rest hold. Miz catches a super kick and hits his backbreaker, neckbreaker combo move thing.
Right. I think that looks
for
cool.
2. Yeah, I like it. Miz mocks Daniel Bryan because this was that time. With the corner drop kicks.
Tons of mocking of Daniel Bryan.
This was that time.
Kind of out of context, it takes away almost a little bit because they focus a lot on talking about that.
If you know why, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because this was that time. Miz goes for another, and Ziggler hits another pretty nice drop kick. Running clotheslines and a stinger splash. Love calling it that. Followed by a neck breaker and an elbow drop for 2 by Ziggler. Miz catches the Famouser, but Ziggler counters a slingshot powerbomb into a sunset flip for 2. Ziggler runs into a boot, but the ref catches Miz's feet on the ropes during the pin attempt. A DDT by Miz for 2. Miz targets the left leg of Ziggler, and Miz goes for a figure 4 on the right leg, because that makes sense. Ziggler counters the figure 4 into a small package for 2. Miz hits the awesome clothesline, not an awesome clothesline. He calls it the awesome clothesline.
He does.
Miz gets crushed on the top turnbuckle. Miz sunset flips, but Ziggler counters a slingshot powerbomb, which Miz counters into the figure 4.
Can I ask you, can I pause? Yeah. Why does Miz keep going for a slingshot powerbomb? Was this a move in his repertoire at the time?
Yeah,
It
but I
was.
don't understand why he went for it so heavily.
Because I don't remember it being a featured thing of his,
I
and
do remember him using it.
there's what 3 or 4 times in this match where.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was a little weird.
I
'cause
just-
I know he used it, but I do find it weird how many times he
I just
went
knew
for
you
it.
would know if this was because I didn't remember this being part of his repertoire, and I figured
I
you would
remember
know.
him using it. I don't know. I still don't know. It wasn't like a signature move,
Right.
so I don't know. It was like a frequently used move, but I don't know why he went for it so many times.
There was a lot, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Ziggler finally gets a rope break. Maurice distracts the ref as The Miz removes the top turnbuckle, and Ziggler hits a Rough Rider of all things for a 2. Ziggler gets hit off the exposed turnbuckle, and Miz falls with the slingshot powerbomb, finally successfully for 2.
He hits it.
Yes, kicks by The Miz, but Dolph ducks the final roundhouse, as that is traditional to do.
It is.
And he hits a zigzag for a near fall. Miz catches a super kick, but Ziggler counters skull-crushing finale into a roll-up for 2. Ziggler gets his patented sleeper hold, but Miz gets a rope break, and Maurice sprays Ziggler with the spray thing. And then Miz hits a skull-crushing finale, but Ziggler gets a rope break to break the pin, which the crowd goes crazy for.
Yeah,
that was the finish to their Backlash match a month prior.
Right.
So that's kind of a nod to that. Out of context, it doesn't seem like the biggest thing, but that was literally how Ziggler lost.
Right.
That time, and then he put his career on the line here. Miz attacks Ziggler's leg and takes his boot off of his right leg, even though his left leg was the one being targeted earlier, but then he put
Details.
The figure 4 on the right leg, so
Right.
I don't know, it's all over the place. Ziggler hits a super kick and crawls to the pin. Maurice calls out Mikey and Kenny from the Spirit Squad. Again, out of context, that's very weird.
My second surprise, I
To
forgot
distract
they were
the ref,
around at this time too.
Ziggler super kicks them. Yeah, they were like pretending to be nice to him, and then
Right.
they aligned with the Miz.
Yes.
Miz sneaks up into the skull-crushing finale for a near fall. The ref ejects Maurice and the Spirit Squad, and Ziggler hits a super kick with his sock foot for the win, and he wins the Intercontinental title.
Yeah. So sorry, this takes me back to Dynamite this week, where it made the finish of the Bucks SCU match surprising, because this is the way it normally works, right? Like they try and cheat with the spray in the bottle and whatever, and then that means that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Right.
I thought this was a very good main roster pay-per-view match.
This was like a prime SmackDown era, like after the 2016 draft.
Yeah, and you've got a classic heel in The Miz who's really good at it.
This was him at his peak.
And a very over baby face that the crowd loves, right? And you've got major stakes involved here, which we always like, a career and a title. The pace wasn't super fast ever, but it was steady, right? There were no real slowdowns and lulls. It was a constant, steady pace that I liked. Miz was a great mega heel. Ziggler did a good job of seeming desperate for a win. And I mean, it's too bad they never got behind Ziggler, right? He reminds me of like the new version of Mr. Perfect. Amazing in the ring, makes everybody else looks good, connects with the fans, but is just never given the ball to run with it. It's almost like they're just like, we can just keep him in reserve. We know we always have him if we ever need him, right? But then they never really need him for anything. At least he did win the main belt at some point. Solid match, probably not as exciting removed from the context and the weekly storytelling leading up to it, but still really good match. So I gave it a B+ by WWE main roster standards. And if for those people who don't think Miz can have a good match, right? Like he can.
Yep.
Was this an absolute barn burner? No, but it was good.
Yeah, this is a good match. Not quite as good as I remember. Probably just because it's a little more out of context, I feel.
Yeah.
One of the best things about this match was the stakes, similar to Bucks SCU.
Yeah.
There's not only a title on the line, but also a career. But also Ziggler's not a tenured tag team who's wrestled forever.
He is not.
There are some good near falls and decent action. Nothing too notable outside of finishers and close roll-ups. And Miz repeatedly going for a slingshot powerbomb.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, though, still a pretty good match with good stakes, so I will also give it a B+, and the crowd was pretty into it, especially
they were
for
very
main
much
roster.
into Ziggler, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool.
It did help, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And there were times where the crowd just loved that guy. But I think it was one of those Vince going, I don't want you to love him, so no. Kind of thing, right? Like, you'll love him when I tell you to love him, not when you decide to love him.
He held the title until, like, December, and then...
Right. And that was it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so you had some other stuff to go over, right?
I just have one thing before the Backlash preview.
Sure.
So WrestleMania Backlash.
Yes. How dare
Jinder
you?
Mahal, he returned on main event, and so then he returned on Raw this week.
Good Canadian boy.
The new Canadian, yeah. He returns on Raw with the new faction. He was with Dilsher Shanky, who's a tall guy from the India Superstar Spectacle special show. And half of Indusher, which I think this one's Rinku Singh, who's now known as Veer. And Shanky is also just referred to as Shanky, which I think is very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he might be getting a feud with Drew McIntyre. Jinder Mahal, that is not Shanky.
Nice.
Which no, thanks.
I got no problem
I
with
don't
Jinder.
care.
I don't know.
I don't care. I'm not gonna watch.
I know you don't like him.
So we got a WrestleMania Backlash 2021 preview and predictions.
All right, I haven't put a lot of thought into this, so let's do it.
Okay.
Just sometimes when I do better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Paralysis by analysis.
You don't need to think about this too much. It's main roster.
True.
Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman for the WWE title.
Bobby Lashley, it better be.
Any reasoning?
If it's somehow Braun Strowman, I'm going to be...
Any reasoning?
Just because he's amazing and it's too early to take it off of him.
Yeah, I also picked Lashley just because I think he deserves this, and I think he can do good things, as good as you could do on the main roster.
He's going to keep it rolling. SummerSlam, Lesnar's back. Boom, we get our match. My dream match.
I understand that would be a cool match, but I honestly don't know why people are so obsessed with it, though.
Because it's just never happened, and it would be awesome.
I guess. It would be good, yeah.
And if you're going to get it with Lashley being as strong as he possibly can be, right? Which is right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would swing Lesnar back, though, and also without him, and I feel like it'd be kind of weird.
They swing Lesnar back? Hey, Lesnar's back, and he's in the championship match. That's all they do with him. That's all they ever do.
That's true. That's true.
Yep.
Although, for the past few years, though, it's been like he's at least been kind of around.
Yes.
So I think this will be kind of odd. Anyways, Belair versus Bayley, SmackDown Women's title.
Belair. It's not time for her to... She needs to run with it.
Agreed.
And I think she's doing, from what I hear, a better job than Ripley.
I think Baszler, if she makes a run for the singles title, why wouldn't she? She needs to go after Ripley, because Baszler's technically on Raw, and also Ripley. I think they ruined her last year.
Only from things I listened to, because we haven't been watching, people that I trust sort of saying it seems like the vibe they get is that they're not super high on Ripley at this point. Again, for whatever reason. I don't know.
Ripley versus Asuka versus Charlotte.
Oh boy.
I was so close to picking Charlotte.
I'll take Charlotte.
Okay.
Honestly, it's just like Charlotte's in a championship match on a pay-per-view. And if they are souring or whatever on Ripley, I don't think they'll hesitate to just take it off her again and just crush her career.
Ripley. I didn't know that information, so that's not great.
But anyways, it's nice to have a different pick. Stick with your pick.
And this would require WWE to be smart and not just have Charlotte win for the 100th time, so I'm gonna pick Ripley. I think she deserves a bit of a run after what they did last year, and at least until Shayna Baszler makes a play for the title.
But it kind of feels like Vince just goes, well, Charlotte's in that match in a championship.
Although it would make my heart happy for Charlotte to win, and then Shayna Baszler takes the title off of her, because what happened at the Royal Rumble last year was an atrocity.
But Charlotte's not a face, right? Is she right now?
No, I don't care. I just want Shayna Baszler to kick her butt.
I do too. But anyways.
Roman Reigns versus Cesaro.
Roman Reigns?
Yeah.
Just because Roman Reigns and because Cesaro. Not that Cesaro's not amazing, because he is, but
I actually
not winning it.
I have 3 reasons. So I picked Roman Reigns because number 1, Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Number 2, Cesaro.
Yeah.
And number 3, Seth Rollins.
Yep.
Because I think Seth Rollins, I think he's going to do it.
I think he's next. I think he's next to face Roman, whether he wins or not, I don't know.
I think he will, because I think they'll build to that at SummerSlam for SmackDown, maybe Lashley, Lesnar, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, because they've already teased that, and I think Rollins, this crappy gimmick has run its course. I think people should be able to put that stuff, why they didn't like him towards the end of his face run. I think people should be able to put that in the past, right? And these guys have so much history, and Rollins is already pretty legit, that it would be believable, and you could build to it easily until August, right? And Roman would almost get a year-long run.
I bet you they'll go to it earlier than you want, and that he just loses to Roman.
Yeah, that's the worst-case scenario, but I think if they were to go to SummerSlam, I think it would benefit all, because you would finally get that big defeat of Roman. He would get like almost a year-long run because he won it at Payback, which is like a week after SummerSlam last year. And I think Rollins, it would be good.
Maybe Rollins get one of the Usos to turn on him or something to help
Probably
him win.
Jimmy, because Jimmy's not exactly with him yet.
Right.
Although Jimmy accidentally cost him the match against Cesaro, which got Cesaro this title shot, which is why Rollins is mad at Roman, which is tease the turn.
If you say so.
SmackDown's honestly looking better than Raw. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, aka the Dirty Dogs, or as I like to call them, Rudolph. Versus Rey and Dominic Mysterio for the SmackDown Tag titles.
Rey and Dominic, because they can't resist putting it on a father-son team and blah, 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 blah.
First time ever.
They can't resist.
Well, and Roode and Ziggler is the most boring team that has ever existed in the history of existence.
So I assume we're picking the same thing there?
Yes.
All right.
And that's it. There's literally only 5 things. I find that very odd.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up any of the wrestling business, right?
It does.
And that leads us into our final segment each week where Jack's going to tell us what's new in the world of wrestling figures and such, and that is Figuring It Out with Jack.
Okay, so I'm going to go in order of least to most interesting.
Sure.
So we got a tag title toy belt revealed. It's an AEW tag title, so that's
nice.
cool.
Yeah, that's something.
They don't have replica belts yet, though, so we need those.
Right.
Because I would not, if I had the money, I would not hesitate to buy the AEW title one. Because that's just...
You think I'd let you spend that much money on a
it's
title
beautiful.
belt? Come on.
But it's beautiful. It's
Okay.
the most beautiful belt I've ever seen.
So print out a picture of it. We'll
What?
put it on the wall.
Okay.
Next.
The Rock and Mankind Elite 2-pack is up for pre-order. This is already revealed in like some render images.
The Rock and Sock connection?
Yes.
Nice.
So that's cool. New top picks basics revealed. The 2022 line, even though it's 2021, but the way they do these is, I swear they should just number the top picks, like top picks 1, top picks 2, because like
right.
when they do it year by year, they're like they're gonna release these 2022 ones, quote unquote, this year. So it's like it's really weird.
That's how new cars work. The next year's model comes out during that year still.
I guess, but this is action figures. This
Correct.
will include The Fiend, John Cena, The Rock, and Drew McIntyre. And based on the pictures they've chosen, like, of the actual people, they've chosen a picture of the new Fiend. So I'm hoping we get an updated Fiend, because
Nice.
I would just head swap that.
You would?
Yeah, because
Yep.
I like the new mask.
You mean I would head swap it?
No, I'd heat it up.
And then I pull it off. I'm the brute force, and you heat it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a team effort.
Yep.
And this has been leaked, and so it's finally been officially revealed. An AEW Unrivaled accessory pack, a barbed wire accessory pack, has been revealed.
Oh yeah,
it's
you
pretty
showed
cool.
me. It does look cool.
Yeah. So you get a barbed wire wrapped chair. It's the same chair that came with the pack figure, just with barbed wire around it. That's pretty cool. Barbed wire broom, like Kenny Omega had.
Yep.
Or John, I think it was Kenny Omega. Barbed wire bat. You get like a chain, which is cool, and you get what Ringside has described as a rack table, and it's basically
that was the fence looking thing you showed me.
Yeah, the fence looking thing that was from the Mox Omega match,
right?
And which is even on the back of the packaging, and you also get 6 barbed wire strands, which is really cool
to do whatever you want,
right? Mm-hmm. And so on here it shows them on the rack table, but also shows the rack table by itself, implying you can take them off. Also in the packaging, if you look, you can see all the barbed wire like spools behind the other stuff, which I think is really cool, because like the accessory pack I got from Ringside only came with 1, which is fine, but like I think this is really cool. And given that this one is centered really, like, it's focusing on barbed wire, I feel like this is the first of many to come. Mm-hmm. And this isn't even like WWE doesn't do a lot of these really.
No.
Like the one I got even was a Ringside exclusive. Like that was Ringside doing it.
Yeah.
This one is literally like from Jazzwares, from AEW. Just Ringside is selling it right now.
Well, again, WWE is more marketed at kids, right? So parents might not want, hey, little Jimmy's buying a thing with barbed wire and
well, yeah, but like stuff. I just mean they don't even make like weapons or accessory packs.
That's what I mean. So, probably that's not their, because they're marketing towards
kids.
No,
but like they don't, like I don't know, but then if that was true, but they wouldn't, then the figures wouldn't come with weapons or whatever. But...
Yeah, but they don't do like barbed wire. Well, anyways.
No, I know, matter. But like they could do other accessory packs. My point is they just don't do anything like this.
Right.
So, I'm hoping that we get more of these in the future, but I think this looks really cool. And the pre-order is to early June, so this is going on my birthday list.
Ringside just needs to sponsor us and send you one, right? So you can test it out for them.
This is going on my birthday list.
Nice. Anything else?
No.
That wraps it up?
That is the most interesting thing, so least to most interesting.
Excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 43. Hope you enjoyed it. We'd just like to thank you for any time you take out of your week to spend with us.
Even
listen
if
to
it's
us.
5 minutes.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Talking about wrestling. Love to hear from any of you. Feedback, criticism, whatever. Send it to us. And we'll see how this weekend goes, right? We may have some bonus episodes coming, or probably take a look at WrestleMania Backlash.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see if we can find some time to talk about that.
Under Siege, maybe. I don't know. That kind of depends, because I don't know.
We'll see if we get to watch it and what free time we have.
Right.
I'll probably be back Monday to talk about Ring of Honor. It seems like I find time on Mondays to talk about that. So keep your eyes out for that on wherever you're listening to this. You'll see whatever comes up, especially if you subscribe or follow or like or whatever you need to do. Then you'll get notified that we put out new stuff. I think
there's a thing that you can do where on Instagram now you can get notifications for people's posts.
Cool.
So if you follow us, you can also...
Another way to figure out what we're doing.
There's like a bell somewhere on the screen, and you can set specific notifications. So then if I post like, hey, we got a thing out, then... Because like, say you don't listen to it on YouTube, where you would get a notification regardless. Like, I could say, hey, it's out, and then you'd be like, oh, okay.
Because not many people listen to us on YouTube.
No.
It's mostly elsewhere.
I don't even think that many people follow us. Go follow us.
Yes. We're slowly picking up a few. I told you that already on the one that I can see anyways. But anyways, so yeah, keep an eye out for stuff we may put out earlier in this coming week. And if we don't, then for sure we'll be back here on Saturday with episode 44. So whenever we see you, until then, take care.